Well, it's November, and you know what that means. It's that time of year where we say, well, it's November. You know what that means. It's Star Wars trailer season.
New listeners refer to previous November episodes to understand what's about to happen. We sincerely apologize, but we're bound by the laws of Meekly mythology, which we impose upon ourselves.
November? More like no trailer.
What are you punning about?
I mean, it's November. There's no Star Wars trailer. What the Mustafar?
Again, we apologize for what's happening, but we warned you.
You know what? There's been so many Star Wars movies lately, I don't even care anymore. I miss the anticipation. I miss the days when you had to wait 13 years between Star Wars trailers. I could have been born and had a bar mitzvah in the time between Star Wars trailers back then. And yes, I was, and yes, I did, and yes, my bar mitzvah was Star Wars trailer themed. Even if one came out by the end of this intro, I wouldn't care. Was that my phone?
No, I hiccuped because I drink. It's a cry for help.
Oh, I thought it was my phone. You hiccuping as my ringtone. Because you do it so much. You know what? I'm done.
Really? You mean like you're done with big budget action movies, or are you just done with Star Wars?
I'm done with everything that's out there. The only thing that could pull me back in would be another Disney-owned multiverse that takes place often in space.
Oh? Hey, audience, come over here for a second. If I can get him interested in the Avengers, then we don't have to talk about Star Wars anymore. And then we could talk about the Avengers, which is what I like.
What are you doing over there?
So we both agree that this is a good idea, right? Shake your phone if you agree. We can feel it. We live in there. Okay, let's rejoin the scene. At casual. Hey, have you heard of the Avengers before?
No, I live under a rock.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I live in Saudi Arabia. Ever read a map?
Oh, it's great. You'll love it. There's Tony Stark. They call him the Iron Man. I'll put it in terms that you can understand. He's the Han Solo of the Avengers. He's a sarcastic know-it-all in it for the glory. Then there's Ant-Man. He's an outlaw with a heart, always running from cops and criminals. I guess you could say he's a Han Solo type. And then there's Rocket Raccoon. And he's the Han Solo of the group. Him and Groot, he's a tree. They have a sort of Han and Chewy relationship. Now, Groot, he's a strong and silent type. I guess you could say he's a Flora Han Solo.
Is this just a whole universe of Han Solo knockoffs?
Yeah, that's why I like it. And then there's Chris Pratt.
But he's the Han Solo from Jurassic World.
Yeah, I like him in all multiverses.
I don't know. This all sounds confusing. There's so many characters. I feel like I'd have to start at the beginning, but people will tell me that I don't. But then when I don't, I have no idea what's happening. This just feels like homework that I have to pay to do because it's just a big cash grab. That's not like Star Wars at all.
Well, the movie crossovers is just replicating the way old Marvel comic storylines would interact. So it's just like honoring a time-tested tradition in a new medium.
Yeah, I guess.
You seem fastidious about storylines. We like that in the Marvel universe.
You mean obsessive fans who freak out over the slightest change are celebrated in your world?
Yes, we embrace it.
So it's good to be angry?
Let it flow through you. Bitterness is an advantage.
I can be possessive and demanding of a story I contribute nothing to and be recognized as the diehard fan that I am?
Yes. Join me in my living room and together we will watch the Captain Marvel trailer, Unlimited Spin-Offs.
Wait a minute, you're trying to seduce me to the Marvel Cinematic Universe! I'll never join you and your all-star cast of sexy stars. No thank you, I have Mark Hamill.
Taika Waititi directed Thor Ragnarok.
Dear Lord, take me.
I look forward to completing your training. In time, you will call me Captain America.
Ooh, a text message! The Star Wars trailer's out! Episode 9, Return of the Porgs! Oh, Mr. America, I don't feel so good.
Oh, God.
One.
You got it.
Thank you. Hey, I'm Greg here. Help him to...
Yeah, you are Greg. That's how Greg
help
talks.
Him to... Wait, can you edit this? Help him to L.A. Sleeply.
I'm Daniel. Hi, I'm Daniel. Don't touch that. Don't move. Don't move. It's going to ruin the recording. Don't move.
Maybe if some people listen to my no moving rule.
There's an old man looking at us.
He doesn't get it. You guys doing ham radios in there?
He likes to move. He likes to move it. That's that guy.
So welcome to episode 59.
Welcome.
There's people watching us from outside the door, apparently.
Yeah, from the sidewalk, because we record now in those little glass windows on the display, like Mike Shea saw.
Wait, when was that?
You were at the Doodle Parade, and he saw you in the window of the record shop. He's like, can I buy it, Daniel?
Halloween's in my head, and I'm scared of people looking at me through windows now.
Yeah, I saw the original Halloween at Cinespia this weekend, and there was a part of that always gets me is when Laurie Strode has her back and she just seen all her friends dead in cartoonish ways because they like pop. It's like a spook house where the door opens and a friend falls out. But then there's just like behind a dark closet and you just slowly see his white face emerge from the darkness. And every time I see a dark room, like I'm just staring at him. Like,
I hope a white face doesn't come out.
I hope William Shatner's white face doesn't pop out of it.
I hope he doesn't pop out of here and make me drown in a pool.
Not funny. What's funny is that you said make me drown in a pool.
Make me. We're talking about Halloween. That's not the thing.
That's not our thing of the month.
Month from this past month.
It was pretty exciting.
What did you do? This is November 1st that we're talking. But what did you do in the past month of October? We've last?
Me and my girlfriend and 2 other people went to go see Bob Baker.
Oh.
The Bob Baker Marionette Theater.
I thought you were describing something else that I wasn't there for. I was like, who did you go with? Who were you going to stuff without me?
I went with you and your fiance, and we all went to
our fiance.
Our fiance. And my ring must be in the mail. We went to
I gave her 2.
We went to the Bob Baker Marionette Theater for the Halloween special, which was
the Halloween Spooktacular.
Thank you. And it was fantastic. It was my second time there, everyone else's first time there, and it was a blast. I loved it so much. We brought wooden masks for the both of you.
Mine was not painted. Everybody's was beautifully painted.
We got yours the day before. I think we were recording the intro that night.
And you bought it at the Afterthought store?
It's got a better name than that, but that's pretty direct to the point.
It's called the Dollar Tree.
It was great. It's a real bummer because we know that it's going to be closing soon. I love that little spot they're in, just right there between.
Yeah, I wish the parking
spot. Yeah.
It was a nightmare of going on every single turn I made. I thought I was back on the freeway trying to park.
It's like at a 5 points underneath the Beverly and the First and Glendale.
The YOs were there.
But it was great. I love that little spot there, and it was a perfect day to go see that stuff. And afterwards, one of the, I wrote his name down, I forgot, but one of the puppeteers, marionettes, I don't know, what are they called when they do marionettes? Is it different?
Overlords.
Overlords.
The puppet overlords. First, you wanted me to take a picture of you.
Talking to a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, and then like as I was about to take the picture, I saw the curtain movie. I was like, uh-oh. And then I saw the pumpkin marionette come out. I was like, oh, here we go.
And it was old and grumpy, and it kept yelling at me. I thought, I'm going to follow you around. And I followed this guy around, and he was just, he was razzing on kids and stuff, and it was cool.
He was nice to us because
he must have known that we have a podcast.
Yeah, he was auditioning. And here he is. But he's not talking. You just hear the clinking of wires from it. But they also gave us ice cream afterwards.
They did.
Let's talk about the show itself. It was a really cool show. It was just a barrage of like obscure Halloween hits.
It's not a barrage. It's a burlesque show. Not a burlesque show. Vaudeville
Certainly
show.
Certainly not burlesque.
Well,
it was a barrage.
It was a couple of burlesque.
It was an assault to the senses of Halloween music. There were some burlesque moments, which the kids.
So funny. Now they're going to associate sexual pleasure with skeletons, and we all know what happens
with cat
after
that. Puppets. Put it on. Tie a
Standards.
string to my neck.
Strip the skin from my bones. It's such a talented show, and like we were talking about, they don't make a big deal about hiding themselves, the puppeteers. So they'll do the show, and they're like, it's just a bunch of people. But you get someone to the show that you forget that they're. Even when the guy was walking around with the jack-o'-lantern, I was talking to the jack-o'-lantern and not the guy who was right behind it. Like you kind of forget. Well, it's like a weird trick.
You have a hard time differentiating reality from puppets. Who was controlling who?
The Muppets. Blurred line for me.
That song's actually about the Muppets. My thing of the month is sort of related to that. I was trying to pick out one thing I did, but I'm just going to go ahead and pick all Halloween things that I've done.
You did
in the
a
past
lot. You've been doing a lot, and you're probably going to continue doing a lot.
And I won't stop
until it's Christmas, which I don't celebrate.
I'm going to go to all the Christmas haunts come December. I did the Bob Baker with you. I did a few backyard mazes, the Backwoods maze, which was really good in Burbank, and then I did the Rotten Apple one also in Burbank, which is good, and then this one in Glendale where it was a Donnie Darko experience, which was a Donnie Darko experience. I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed the movie. And then I did the Ghost Train in Griffith Park.
Which one was your favorite?
I think the best haunt was the Backwoods one, although it doesn't matter to you. You're not going to be able to do any of this.
Thanks.
Them.
I kind of just want to hear about your experience. So do they, but you can just go ahead and disregard it.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I did
it happened to me, not you. Yeah, the Backwoods one was the best one, I think. It was because it was pretty cramped. You didn't always know where to go, and they kind of wanted you not to know where to go, and then they'd scare you.
Oh, I like that. I like that disorienting effect.
Yeah, but then it was also like the costumes, and it all looked really good, and there were good scares in it. All the people were like rat people or like mouse people or pig people. No, you'd like this. But they were also, one of them waved at me, so I felt safe.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
You went from not being someone who enjoyed that stuff to suddenly being someone who enjoyed that stuff. Explain that.
2 years ago, I would never have done this. Yeah. But last year, I don't know why, but I decided, maybe it's because it's free.
I think it's because it's free.
But I decided to do one, and I was so scared going into it, but I made my sister go first. So then I enjoyed it because I didn't get any of the scares.
Yeah, you got residual scares.
Yeah, and then even going into like this first one, I was literally trembling this year because I had forgotten forgotten the fear.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten what fear tasted like.
And now you're addicted to it.
I can't get
Can't
enough.
stop. Can't stop.
That and marionettes. You know?
Do you see yourself going to bigger haunts now?
My 5-year plan is that in 2 years, I think I'd be ready for Universal or something like that. Next year, I think I wanted to go to the one in Thousand Oaks. That's like 105 rooms. I don't know what switched in me that I suddenly like doing this sort of thing.
You turned 30. That's it.
I didn't turn 32 years ago. I'm not you. I like the artistry involved in it. The scares, to be quite honest, I don't know if it really scares me. The idea of being scared scares me. I don't know if I'm actually scared of any of this stuff.
That's the best stuff, is waiting for something to scare you, or entering a room and trying to figure out where it's going to happen, and then it happens somewhere completely else.
Yeah.
I went with a big group of comedians, and we made it a point.
Was I there?
Oh, no, you don't do anything. You don't do anything except when I'm not around, and then you do everything. We were making a point of not being scared, and I'm like, well, this isn't any fun. And then every once in a while, we're like, oh, that really got me.
What do you mean making a point of not being scared?
Like we walk in, kind of, a little bit, not, I wouldn't say smug, but
sounds like fun. I go and I scream.
I'm trembling. They have to pull me out of there. Fire department, ambulance, EMT people.
They think I'm part of the maze because my bones are clattering. Wow, it starts in the line. I'm scared.
It's not a smug approach to it, but it's sort of like, well, we know what's going to happen. We're going to enter a room and they're going to come, like one at a time come. But every once in a while, you have your eye on one, and then there's you don't notice a big square hole in the wall, and then something comes out and scares you.
The holes in the wall.
That's the fun. Yeah, that's the fun right there.
The hole in the wall is the fun.
Robert Redford knows about it. Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kids.
Sundance Kids. Butch
No, I
Cassidy
said
and
the
the Sundance Kids.
You jump you jump all over everything you think you hear is wrong.
You said something pretty stupid just now. You said the Butch Cassidy and the Muppet Babies.
We're joking, but I'd watch that.
Wow. That's my Kermit.
It's pretty good. Baby Kermit, which is adult Kermit.
We don't know how old he is.
How old the frog's cat? And then you just start singing Rainbow Connection.
60.
You have to answer a question now.
We have to answer
We have to answer a question that you pre-answered.
Yeah, a question that I answered already. We have to answer a question I answered. So this is our listener question of the month. Listener or follower online who saw, this seems to be some sort of a Quora or Ask Jeeves Instagram account. I should post a question here.
Are you Bing?
So this month, the question comes from Andrew_Petrovsky on Instagram. Whatever happened to the Olmsted plan for LA?
Walk me through the Olmsted plan. Are you okay? Oh my God. Why don't you tell us what the Olmsted plan is and then answer the question for us?
What?
You're just a bag of grease right now.
I'm not. I'm Michael Myers. He talks in this one. Turns out he's Kermit. The Michael Myers babies.
That's funny.
They should have like a 70s and 80s movie monster babies version, like Baby Freddy, Baby Jason, Baby Michael.
I'd watch that. And you know who could watch over everybody?
Chucky, because he's technically the biggest.
Yeah, I was going to say Jason Voorhees' mom, since she's a killer in the first Friday the 13th, and she watches everybody, and then they all drown in a pool, and then she's like, I got to kill teenagers. Did I spoil that movie for everybody?
Not everyone knew there was a pond in it. Did you say pond or lake?
I said pool. You put Shatner in my head.
Oh yeah, we're talking about the Olmsted plan.
Yes,
so the Olmsted plan, did you know?
Not really.
The name sounded familiar, but once reading about it, I realized I've never heard of this before. It was a plan in 1927 from the architecture firm of the Olmsted brothers. The plan was to make more parks in the city and prevent the ugly urban sprawl that LA became. So there's your answer now.
Good job.
Yeah, it didn't work out. The LA Chamber of Commerce commissioned it. There was a celebrity committee that had Cecil B. DeMille and Mary Pickford on it. It was apparently very impressive, but the board of directors was divided on how it should be put into action. No one really knows. It was either self-sabotage or there was fear that the plan was too good and that it was going to be taken over by power-crazy politicians. So nobody really knows what happened. But when the plan became public, there was no coverage in the press of it at all on purpose. So it was released and then it just kind of faded away and no one talked about it and it was never put into action.
Wow.
So there's not really, as far as I could tell, not really an answer on that. But the legacy of it is in all these new plans to put a bunch of parks around the LA River today. Like that was their thing. Like LA was supposed to have like parks all around the rivers, like not just like we have 3 parks.
Yeah. I can already hear the people conspiring against it saying, if there's a park, then we can't build $1 million
How many
apartment complex on that.
If there's a park, then there's no parking lot. How about we just ink in 3 more letters?
No one's gonna know. We already had our housing crisis episode, but I feel like every couple weeks when they knock something down that I love, I'm like, they're gonna put people there, aren't they?
Yeah. The whole thing of like the plan was just too good. Like I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah. It sounds like a really great plan.
Well, we don't know what the plan is.
Oh, I thought it was to build parks.
It was, but we don't know exactly the plans.
Oh, you mean like the actual realistic
like
steps?
It's literally gone. I think they were able to find like a few pages of it, but like the plan does not exist anymore from what I can tell.
Why are they trying to recover something from the 20s? Like the city's different.
It doesn't
matter. Like
we're we're going to have to tear down Capitol Records because there's supposed to be a waterfall there. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know. Like, I wonder what it could have looked like because there's cities. They kept talking about these new plans for the LA River and referring to it as the Emerald Necklace, which is what they call, what I learned in Boston. Because Boston has like this whole parks and stuff around its river, and they call that the Emerald Necklace or something like that. The Emerald Choker. And they renamed it in the 90s the Emerald Choker.
Yeah, once Hot Topic came about, they're like, you know what? Necklaces are great, but they're not new.
It's not selling. I can't imagine what it would have been at all.
I'm happy to see parks, like we just said, every district you go to, there's like a couple parks, and it's always cool. But I feel like I see so many like ghost parks, like parks where nobody's at, even on the weekends.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, I feel like there are a lot of parks in Los Angeles, but it's like, this is a park. There's a bench and some grass next to the freeway. Yeah. That's your park. Yeah. And nobody's there except at night when people are, God help them. God help whatever's happening to them in that park.
It's a real bummer because like I have three really big parks. I have the Echo Park Lake. I have Elysian Park, which is like there's always families there. And then Griffith Park, which is Griffith Park. Like
Balboa Park is good.
Yeah, Balboa. Yeah, it's weird because every 10 years or so you'll see like a newscaster's like, we're planting a tree and in 10 years it's going to be a real thing. But I mean, a park belongs where people need to gather, and if you're in the suburbs, people are just home. You don't need to go out.
Yeah, but maybe if they had a park to go to.
If everybody has a backyard to have a party, you don't need to have a park.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. We don't. who needs this Olmsted plan?
It was
all along. I'm the one who foiled the Olmsted plan. Yeah.
More cement.
Let's start the episode. So
Can we?
It's November 1st.
Yeah.
What do you think of when you think of November?
Rose parade.
Midterm elections.
Trump wins.
Trump wins again. He won in the midterm too. He got elected senator and president.
It's the death of Halloween. It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah. The pumpkins are dying and they're reborn into a pie. When we all sit down and carve pumpkin pies together. Yeah, it's November, Thanksgiving. It's a lot of work. You're slaving over the oven. Ooh boy, sometimes I want to jump right in here and just get out of this duty. And I do mean duty.
A lot of it. We've reached our hand inside of a turkey before and like, whoa, they didn't clean this good enough.
There is a lot of duty in here. Oh wait, it's stuffing. I eat it. So then what I do? Then I put a little bit of marshmallow on it.
I eat it out of the toilet. Nobody asks questions.
Here's my secret.
Just weird.
I'm not cooking all this dinner for everybody. They eat it all. They go in my toilet. Then I have dinner. So instead of, I'm so stressed out. My family's coming. What am I going to do? I have to make a turkey. Oh no, they're allergic to turkey. Oh no, my family is a turkey. Here's an alternative. Fast food.
And lots of it.
Lots of it for cheap.
Who brought the In-N-Out? Uh-oh, not me. I brought Taco Bell.
I didn't bring Taco Bell. I brought Western Bagel. We're going to be talking about the easy way out of Thanksgiving.
The anti-Thanksgiving, if you were.
We have 5 fast food places that are LA places that became world-renowned, and some of them locally renowned. One of them. But a lot of them, world-renowned. Some of them,
I wish that you could translate into audio the things that your hand was doing when you were making that sound, because it was like sort of making the fingers rubbing together for money, but it was close to your ear like you wanted to hear it.
Hello? Is this a business call?
Money, 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 money.
This is another episode like last time where you might get... I know I for sure got very hungry.
You're right.
And I need to apologize to the listeners for my behavior in the last episode. My blood sugar dropped very low after we were talking about chocolate for 45 minutes.
We got a lot of comments like, hey, thanks for the warning ahead of time. Well, you know what? You might want to pick up a little...
Don't say it. Food. This is going to make you hungry. My first place I'm going to be talking about, I don't even like this place, but doing all this research, I wanted it so bad. Yeah. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's start it out.
Hit it.
Hark, the bells. They chime for tacos. Welcome to the 1940s San Bernardino, where a couple brothers by the name of McDonald are slinging hamburgers to any sad non-LA County resident that happens to pass by. But there has to be a better way, a way to think outside the bun. Enter Glenn William Bell Jr.
That's a great name.
Born September 3rd, 1923 in Linwood, Los Angeles. That's LA County. That's also, I believe, where Weird Al is from.
Aren't the Beach Boys from there too?
Are they?
Aren't they from
What's
Linwood?
going on? What's in the tacos in that place? It's in the tacos.
It's in the tacos. That's the tagline of Taco Bell. Ring is in the tacos.
Ring, taco calling. What's that? You're making money gestures to your ear? Yeah, it's a taco.
The world's smallest taco.
I'm playing the world's smallest taco for you. Glenn Bell, he was one of 6 kids of Ruth and Glenn Sr., or as he liked to be called, Glenn Supreme. At age 5, the family moved to a farm in Oregon, but his dad was a construction worker who was often out of work. So this little 5-year-old, Glenn Jr., he took it upon himself to sell cottage cheese door to door to make some money for the family. Imagine just handfuls. Would you like a little bit of my cottage cheese? sorry.
He had a bucket and a spoon.
Yeah.
He's like, how many
Open
spoonfuls
up.
do you want? 5 cents for one, a dime for 2 scoops.
Yeah, that just sounds disgusting. I don't trust food from kids. I especially wouldn't trust a door-to-door cottage cheese child salesman.
How do you feel about kids selling lemonade on the sidewalk?
I spit at them. It's Hubert's or nothing for me. No, I do like that, but usually their lemonade sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, we say the unpopular opinions here. Unpopular opinion, children stink. After this, when this same little boy, when he was 12, the family moved to a farm in Cedar Springs, which is right outside San Bernardino, which is a town, I kept trying to Google it, no longer exists because it got swallowed by a flood in the early 70s.
San Bernardino. That happens.
I can make money off it. I can sell this flood door to door. Before it became the Atlantis of San Bernardino, Little Bell was selling eggs and apples and flowers from his family's farm. I buy a flower from a kid or an apple, maybe.
If he was saying, God told you shouldn't eat this apple.
Yeah, if he was trying to tempt me with it, I'll pay anything for that. The forbidden cottage cheese. He also helped his mom cook because deadbeat dad was doing nothing. And he became known amongst his family for his really good French fries.
Okay. What Taco Bell's known for?
Yeah, it's originally called French Fry Bell. He didn't see that as a ticket success just yet. Not old Ding Dong Bell, as kids called him in school. Instead, starting at age 16, he took to, you're going to love this, you're about to fall in love with Glenn Bell.
All right.
He took to going on the bum and riding the rails on his school breaks he would ride, 16-year-old boy, riding the rails from California to Washington and Iowa, doing whatever work he would find. That was his summer.
And that's Taco Bell's food, is that it's innovative, and whatever you can scrap together.
It's that hobo mentality. You might not have this tomorrow. Throw it into a taco.
What do you got there? What do you got there? What do you got there? Let's put it together in a tortilla, and then another tortilla, then chips.
Technically, it's not a tortilla, though. This is part of a bindle I fried up. So one summer, he made his way up to Tacoma, Washington, where his aunt lived, and they started selling pies together as Mrs. Dye's homemade pies.
It was D's.
Mrs. D's homemade peas. That was what they sold during the winter. It wasn't pie season, but a lot of peas. He made $3,000 in that one summer during the Depression, mind you. So selling pies as a 16-year-old hobo. That's what he was doing.
And there was an influx of hobos looking for work, too. Yeah. And this is a rich hobo. This is Richie Rich, the hobo.
People are never too poor for a pie. Everyone wants a slice.
Brother, can you spare a dime? I want to buy a pie.
So this was 2 hints that maybe the food industry was his destiny, but no. Instead, he graduated high school in 1941 and got a job for the U.S. Forestry Service, and from there joined the Marines in 1943.
He can cook for them.
He can cook. Those boys can eat. And they'll eat whatever you throw at them. So he served in the Pacific, and wouldn't you know it, he happened to be assigned working on the Solomon Islands as a chef. He got better and better as a cook, and his food became so well known that he ended up serving the higher-ups when they came to visit, and he could give diarrhea to any enemy at an instant. But 3 hints still wasn't enough, so when the war ended, he came back to San Bernardino and bought a surplus army truck, and he started transporting bricks at 5 cents a piece. So, bricks. They could be used to build a restaurant. Still nothing. From there, he got a job working for a railroad company. Then he leased a mini golf course that didn't make any money, and then he got a job at the gas company. Then he finally thought, gas, cooking. I should follow what my whole life has pointed me towards and open up my own restaurant. So he bought a gas-powered fridge. He bought it really cheap from the gas company. They said he bought it. I think he just stole it from the gas company. And he sold it for profit and used that money in March 1948 to jump in on the hamburger mania in San Bernardino and opened up Bell's Drive-In. It was on Oak and Mount Vernon and was near, I know we're talking about a lot about San Bernardino, but it's where the roots are.
Okay.
Rotten as they are.
I won't flag you. I won't throw a yellow flag on this.
We get 1 per episode. You might want to save it because I'm about to headbutt the referee. So Oak and Mount Vernon, it was near a public swimming pool, so it was the perfect location for hungry swimmers and about to be cramped up swimmers to go eat. So he ran the place alone and worked from 9 a.m. to midnight cooking and serving everybody who came up. Even with McDonald's in town, it was a big hit, but it was a tiny place. So in 1952, 4 years of 15-hour days, literally over a grill. So in 1952, he decided to sell this little hut for profit, and he used that money to open up an even bigger hut with a high school friend named Neil Baker at the corner of North 6th and Mount Vernon Streets, and it was called Bell's Hamburgers. So seeing as how the people of San Bernardino could not eat too many hamburgers in the 1940s, this place was also a really big success. The next year, he even opened a second location of this place in Barstow. However, Bell knew that it can't last. As much as we all want to believe the people of San Bernardino eat nothing but hamburgers, he saw that more and more of these places were opening, and eventually they'd all start losing business. The market would just collapse, as if it had a heart attack from eating too many hamburgers. He was sitting in the parking lot of McDonald's when he he realized he had to offer something different, something that could set him apart, but he had no idea what that was. Enter the people of Mexico.
I feel like a lot of people were trying to stop them from entering. That was the problem. Can you just leave your food at the border, then you go, we'll pick up the food.
Is this just a delivery, or did you want to stay for a little bit? So across the street from his stand in San Bernardino was a Mexican restaurant called Meekly Cafe. They had been around since 1937. It's still there today, and they were pretty well known in the Mexican community in the area. Cesar Chavez used to eat there whenever he was in town. But what Bell noticed was that there was always long lines to eat there, so he wanted to go eat there and see what the fuss was all about. What he ended up having were a hot new thing called tacos.
It's weird that tacos were new.
I mean, they were new to him.
Yeah. I guess I've been having tacos since an early age, so the idea of being a full-grown man having a first taco is like, oh, that's odd. But I had a gyro when I was like 27, so I kind of get it.
Which are Middle Eastern tacos.
We can all agree.
I think often, every night before I go to bed, about like maybe not to yours, but to my parents and grandparents, exactly that. I'm sure my parents didn't come to Los Angeles till they were in their 30s. I'm sure they didn't have a taco till, I don't know if my mom's ever had a taco. I have no idea.
I can call it right now.
But Mom, this is urgent. Mom, please wake up. Have you had a taco? But then we think like, oh, our grandparents, they have their comfort food. They like rice pudding and oatmeal and stuff. But like when we're old, like our comfort food, his grandpa's always eating a chalupa. Yeah, exactly. Oh, gross. Yeah. Have you ever seen one of those? All he's eating are Crunch Wraps. Shifting taste. Let's get back on
please, sorry.
What this taco stand, everyone's going to these tacos. In particular, what they had were tacos dorados, which were tacos where you take the tortilla and you fry it into a hard shell. Along the lines of a taquito, but as a taco. You ever heard of this?
Are these towns? No.
Bell couldn't believe what he was eating, and he ate there again and again and again, trying to mouth engineer the secrets to how they did this.
Me and you both, brother.
Yeah. How do they do this? What is this stuff? Is this cow? But he couldn't figure it out, so he just gave up and he asked them, and they showed him how to make a taco dorado. So
that business failed, and his business thrived, and that's why you don't share secrets.
Never share trade secrets. Never tell a white man what's in a taco. Moral of the story. So now he finally had an idea that maybe this was what could set him apart from all the hamburgers and hot dog stands. Nobody was selling quick tacos dorados, least of all to the white mainstream at the time. So if he could do this right, he could do what nobody else did yet do for tacos what McDonald's did for hamburgers.
He did the Elvis Presley thing, but with tacos.
Yeah, exactly.
If I could only find a white guy, sing black guy
what's
music.
The Mexican equivalent? I mean, white people can steal from anybody.
Yeah.
They don't have to be black. They don't have to be black anymore.
How can I steal a taco and then sell it to white people?
How can I take this taco and make it about a puppy dog so that white people will like it? I kept reading that, he appropriated Mexican food. Yeah, but Mexican food's better.
Yeah. We all know,
there's no competition. There's no debate that Mexican people are superior, but this isn't Mexican food that he's doing. Anyway, so the reason nobody was doing a quick version of this was that tacos dorados wasn't quick. By the way, feel free to correct my pronunciation of this.
I don't know either.
First, correct my pronunciation of pronunciation. To make these, you had to take the order, fry up the tortilla, load it up, and then it was ready. It could take like 5 minutes to do this.
Which is normal.
Really, it is. Like, I was thinking, like, how long were these lines really? You were probably waiting 7 minutes. Yeah. But, a hot dog, you take it off the thing, it's ready. So Bell realized that if he was going to make this work, he would have to have these hard shells pre-fried and ready to be filled to order. So he got a guy who made chicken coops to make him a special fryer out of chicken wire to hold pre-formed tortillas so that he could dunk several of them into the fryer at a time and then have a bunch of pre-fried hard shells at the ready for when someone came to the counter to order. The taco dorado style, obviously it's been around for hundreds of years, but the idea of having a pre-made hard taco shell ready to go may be a Bell original, but it's also claimed by a couple people to have been invented in Texas, but there's no denying that Bell became the one to popularize this method.
Right.
Basically, old El Paso in the grocery store, you have Taco Bell to thank for that.
Yeah.
And I do thank them for that. Every time I see a box, I kneel and I salute.
Single tier and you play taps. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your swift, under 5 minute service. So he fiddled around with these hard shells for a while until he finally got it right. And then he filled it up with chopped up hamburger meat, which was cleaner to cook than frying up a messy hamburger. It was easier to do this. Put some lettuce, some cheese, topped it with his taco sauce, which was just the drippings basically from his chili burgers, like the chili burger sauce. Yeah, this is where it starts. That's where those noises start happening. It all took 15 seconds to make one of these tacos. Jeez. So he felt confident enough with this new creation that it was finally ready. So it's alive. He hand painted a sign.
That's where Greg comes in.
The lines are crooked, or whatever you keep saying to me every time you see a sign anywhere. It said tacos, 19 cents. And he put it up next to his listings for hamburgers. Finally, a white guy in a suit came up to his hamburger hut and saw the taco sign. He had no idea what it was. So he said, give me one of those. The guy bit into it and the juices dripped down his sleeve and onto his tie. And he thought, well, that's it for tacos. This is not going to go well. But the guy loved it. He went nuts. He hollered. He shot his San Bernardino pistols in the air. He said, I'm the mayor. I want another one. So he got another one. And then more people started coming and they were ordering them, getting them on their ties everywhere until soon his tacos were outselling his hamburgers. So this is when he decided, maybe I should start shifting into the world of tacos exclusively. So he opened up a new restaurant called Taco Tia, my Aunt the Taco, in San Bernardino in 1954. Then he opened up 2 more locations in Redlands and Riverside. And between just these 3 places, they were taking in $50,000 a year in tacos for 19-cent tacos. He even converted his 2 Bell's Hamburgers locations to being basically Taco Tias as well. An early employee at his Barstow location was actually a man named Ed Hackbarth, which is the perfect name to get into the food industry. Yeah. Hackbarth. He would then go on to found a direct competitor to Bell named Del Taco.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Child of the taco. Please, I am Don Del Taco. Don Diego Del Taco. Bell was all about making things quick and efficient, so he borrowed an idea he got in the military and mowed down as many unarmed citizens. He built a shared commissary, a separate location for his several restaurants, which acted as a main kitchen. They would prepare all the vegetables, the taco shells, and the sauces, and then ship that all out to each individual restaurant where they would cook their meat on their own and insert it with all the pre-made stuff. So that sped things up even more. But Bell had intentions from the beginning of Taco Tia to turn this into a major franchise nationwide empire.
Of course he did. That's what they do. They get one successful thing like, there's going to be a Taco Bell. There's going to be my Aunt the Taco in every state. Soviet Union on top of the Berlin Wall.
The Berlin Wall will just be one long advertisement for my Aunt the Taco. What's the Berlin Wall again? Oh, we'll find out in a year or so. It's a hard-shelled wall. His plan, if it was soft-shell,
the break right through it.
The whole world would have been much better. Checkpoint Charlie, please. His plan was to sell tacos in mostly Latino neighborhoods because that way, if he was successful, any potential competitors would be like, oh, well, his tacos are selling because he's in a Latino neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Then he could start branching into other neighborhoods. And by that time, the competitors realized, well, it's not just a Latino thing. He'd already be too powerful and too well established to fight it.
Sneak attack.
He's Bane. He's
Bane. He's Bane.
Let's compare the Latino community to the pit that Bane trained in. Yeah, good job, Greg.
Bane's the strongest one. He broke Batman's back. It's good. It's a good comparison.
It's like the Mexican people will break the back of the white man. I mean,
which white man?
So this was the first step in his plan for world domination. But then, like we said, Bane. But then he did branch into a non-Latino community and built another Taco Tia in Pasadena, and it did not do well. Yep. They were not ready for that.
You mean Pasadena doesn't like other cultures coming into them? That's weird.
They were trying to arrest the building itself. Why is it speaking Spanish at me?
I told you, no Spanish here. Taco Tia, get out.
In English, just yelling at a closed building sign. In English, this put Bell at odds with his partners in Taco Tia, who didn't want to risk expanding into the Los Angeles area. So Bell cashed out of Taco Tia in 1956 and finally came back to the city he came from, the city of Angeles. So he was going to open up a whole new taco chain in LA, and it was going to be successful because if he did it once, he could do it again. Yeah. Watch me. But he needed some partners once more. Luckily, some players from the LA Rams trained near a Taco Tia, and they loved the food, so they were interested in investing in a new taco place by the same guy. So them and a couple others joined Bell, and in 1958, he opened El Taco. When I read that, I know. It's Taco Tia. No. El Taco. No. Del Taco. No. When I read...
maybe.
Well, maybe one day. When I read that with the LA Rams, I was like, wait a minute, they just came 2 years ago, and I realized, oh yeah, there were other words.
You're a pretty smart guy. It takes
Taco Bell's only 2 years old, right? Is it too late to invest? So I'm not sure exactly where this first El Taco was, or any of the El Tacos were, but by 1962, there were 4 of them. Okay. But by then, Bell realized, I don't need partners. Like, I'm the one. Yeah. I don't need to share this with anybody. I don't need to take their input. He's proven 3 times now that he could open up a successful taco chain. Yeah. So now he wanted to finally create the big one he'd always dreamed of. So in 1962, he cashed out of El Taco and bought a plot of land at 7112 Firestone Boulevard in Downey. He built a whole plaza there in a fake Mexican style called Plaza Guadalajara. My favorite part of Mexico.
My favorite part of Mexico is actually Downey, California.
My favorite state in Mexico is Plaza Guadalajara. So it was like a few open air stores, but the main attraction was a little 20-foot by 20-foot food stand. 20-foot by 20-foot foot stand.
Did he build a whole plaza and then just sneak Taco Bell onto there?
Yeah, he built a whole plaza to draw you in, but like
the main draw was
come eat the food.
He Trojan horsed it.
That's Taco Bell's.
That's Taco Bell. That's how I eat the food too.
That's Taco Bell on a hard shell. So it had no indoor seating. It was just a counter you ordered at and a patio with some fire pits for the nighttime. But what should Taco Man Bell call this Taco Bell stand of his? Let me say that again.
Yeah.
What should Taco Man Bell call this taco's top?
Oh my God.
What should Taco Man Bell call this Bell's taco stand of his?
Near the city of Bell.
Near the city of Bell, where tacos. What are we talking? A friend suggested he should combine his name with his passion, so Glenn Entrepreneurship was born.
Glenn murdering people by the highway.
Glenn, I don't need any partners anymore, so I'm cashing out, was born. March 1962, the very first Taco Bell opened. The menu consisted of a taco, tostada, frijoles, and a Bell burger, which was just a hamburger made of taco meat. Everything cost 25 cents each. Their logo, it was this weird interpretive image of a guy sitting on top of a bell wearing this huge sombrero, and it kind of looked like a Coco Pelli. Very precarious. It's very weird.
Yeah.
It was
surreal imagery.
Oh my God.
No,
I was
look at
tripping bolitos when I looked at this. It was a hit
Yeah.
because everything he does, people want tacos. That street it was on was a pretty busy thoroughfare at the time, so a lot of customers were coming. The area was also an aerospace hub, so it's safe to say that most of the early space work on the lunar landing was powered by Taco Bell. In space, no one can hear you, Caro. In just 6 months, they opened up a second location in Long Beach, then in Paramount, Gardena, Altadena, Pasadena,
Snuck
whatever.
back into Pasadena.
Yeah.
You know, the way into Pasadena is to
To
start something in Altadena and then be like, oh, over there on Lake and whatever up there by the mountain, they like it over there. We want it over here.
The way to Pasadena's heart is through Altadena. What is going on with me? I took an extra strength Dayquil before this.
That's what's happening
And
to you.
what I didn't quite realize is that I have allergies.
What you didn't realize was that it was a NyQuil.
What you didn't realize is that I laced it with arsenic. And you have 4 minutes to finish the story. Each of these new locations, they each had their own grand openings with salsa music, free sombreros, but no salsa because that's a little too much.
It's not that authentic.
The salsa is just ketchup. But the real money came from franchising in Taco Bell. In 1964, the first franchise Taco Bell opened in Torrance. It was run by a retired LAPD officer named Kermit Becky.
Okay, what was the real name, though?
Muppet Baby. You want me to do my Kermit impression again?
No, we're good.
This first franchise run by Kermit, Taco Bell by Kermit, was taking in $10,000 a month starting in the first month. So from there, franchise crazy. He used to be great at French fries. Now he's good at franchise.
That hurt my teeth to hear. Go ahead.
Because you can really sink your teeth into that pun. They became so big that in 1966, they went public on the Pacific Stock Exchange, and that gave them more financing to expand more and more and more. In 1967, just 5 years after their first location, they opened up their 100th restaurant in 5 years.
It's an explosion of tacos.
It's almost as if the market ate a Taco Bell taco and then had some sort of explosion.
Some sort of reaction to it.
By 1970, there was 325 locations.
All across the Southland?
All in Downey.
You could actually open one up in every apartment that's there. It's weird.
They considered any kitchen to be a Taco Bell. But you can't get that big without someone noticing. And the Pepsi Corporation has many spies with many eyes. And also they have Pizza Hut, who in the late 60s tried to open up a competitor to Taco Bell. Did you know this?
No.
You know like how Carl's Jr. has the green burrito?
Yeah.
Pizza Hut had the Taco Kid, but it failed.
What year was this?
Late 60s.
Okay. Yeah, I remember.
You remember going down to the old Five and Dime and on the way home talking at the Taco Kid?
Yeah, the Taco Kid on my way to the A&P and the Piggly Wiggly.
You were going home to watch the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, this is a
I need some
sequel.
tacos.
I hope it's Ted this time.
Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? First reality show. Fallen American Idol. Obviously it failed. So Pepsi decided, let's spend a ton of money and just buy Taco Bell.
That's fine.
Which is exactly what they did. February 1978, $125 million. They bought Taco Bell.
You know how many more Taco Bells I could open with that money?
You know how many gorditas I can buy? That's also why they're often, I never understood this, but now it makes sense. Taco Bells and Pizza Huts in the same building because they're both owned by PepsiCo.
Yeah. Does Pepsi own Mountain Dew?
Are you talking about the Baja Blast?
Or are you going to cover that?
They
Is
must.
that the next 4 pages?
Yeah.
Baja Blast?
I'm going to do a deep dive into Baja Blast right now. I hope you don't mind.
I brought a scientist friend.
I mean, they must. I
Yeah.
think if you look, Pepsi owns everything.
Yeah, pretty
Everything we're talking about tonight, I'm pretty sure is owned by Pepsi.
This episode is brought to you by Pepsi.
Oh, forgot to mention. Brought to you by Coca-Cola, which is owned by Pepsi. So it's Yum Brands, Inc., which is the restaurant division of PepsiCo. They run Pizza Hut and Taco Bell and everything else.
They also run whatever slavery ring is running through.
They run Pizzagate. They run Pizza Hut, Pizzagate, Taco Bell.
You know, it started as a subsidiary of Pizza Hut. I don't know what went wrong.
They tried to branch out into more children like sort of like a Chuck E. Cheese sort of thing.
We were selling cages. We were selling kids. And then what do you know?
Look what happened.
Look what happened.
Somehow, here we are at the midterm elections. He had built a Taco Bell. Bell had built Taco Bell. This is too much to be saying on extra strength Dayquil.
Yeah.
He built Taco Bell into an 868 location mega chain, but this was the end of the line for old Ding Dong Bell. He recognized his limitations as a businessman, and he said he knew when to let go. So he retired from the taco industry after this sale, but not before helping a friend of his named John Gallardi open up a place we talked about in a previous episode, Der Wiener Schnitzel. It's all coming together.
Yeah, this is what I live for. This is the Marvel mashup I've been waiting for.
His dream was to open up a Taco Bell theme park, and he even bought land in Florida to open up this theme park, but it fell apart.
I hope so.
Literally, the land fell apart. He did have a place called Bell Gardens, not that one, near his house in Rancho Santa Fe, but it was mostly just a farm that you could visit.
I'm also
that
okay
closed
with that.
in 2003. When I read Bell Gardens, I was like, wait a minute.
That's already a thing.
Yeah. Is Bell Gardens a subsidiary of Pepsi? Does this corruption scandal go even deeper? Say what you will about Glenn Bale and his appropriation of Mexican food. And we already have.
Yeah.
But Taco Bell was a lot of people in this country's first exposure to quote unquote Mexican food.
Yeah, gateway food. Gateway taco.
That's something. That's at least something to make people vaguely aware that there's other cultures out there than McDonald's culture. You know, it's something.
It's something. I don't hate Taco Bell. I eat it.
I don't hate it. In fact, I love it. It's my favorite Mexican food. He showed them that a taco had all the same ingredients that a hamburger did: beef, cheese, tomatoes. It was just made a different way. And in the end, aren't we all just hungry people eager to get diarrhea no matter what shape our beef comes in? Vote no on Prop Diarrhea.
That's your Thanksgiving message?
Yeah.
Aren't we all just really hungry and want to poo?
Don't we all just have irritable bowel syndrome? Let us eat.
I'm thankful for IBS. Aren't you? Oh, it's only me?
I am thankful that I can be so open with all of you about my IBS. So Glenn Bell died on January 16th. IBS? 2010.
Wow.
Not that long ago. But Taco Bell didn't. That sale back in 1978 kicked things up a notch. A Del Scorcho of flavors. Well, what's the name of their... Do they have a hot sauce? Honestly, I have not eaten... Fire, they have it. I do not have a lot of experience with Taco Bell at all. I love their cinnamon twists, but other than that, I really haven't eaten much there.
It's sort of a punchline among comedians that it's almost like an avant-garde fast food where they're willing to throw anything together. That's like the punchline about it. But I'm a fan of it. It's one of those restaurant chains that I just didn't grow up. There wasn't one near me, so I not until maybe I was in high school did we get a Taco Bell mixed with the KFC near us, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna eat this all the time because there's a lot of sour cream in it.
The Mexican fast food I got was Del Taco.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're just two boys growing up in different parts of town. That's all.
You came from the wrong side of the shell.
That's almost good.
That sale back in 1978 drove Taco Bell national. It also seemed to drive them insane because from then on, Taco Bell slowly morphed into the manic mutant of Mexican mush that we all know it is today. We're getting to it. First off, the kind of weird racist logo had to go. They changed it to the bell that we all know.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Fair. At least somebody's willing to stop a racist logo.
Yeah.
Take a hint, sports teams.
Maybe we should change the Redskins into, I don't know, a taco?
Hey, it's better.
Then it was off to the races, not the racists. More and more locations kept opening. Their biggest competitor at the time was Nagel's. Do you know them?
No.
It was actually started by one of the partners from Del Taco. And in 1983, they had 160 stores making $84 million. That was their next biggest competitor. Taco Bell had 1,600 stores making $918 million.
So,
there was no competition.
Yeah.
The first international location of Taco Bell opened in London in 1986.
They must not know what the hell that is. That's so far removed from everything. They don't even know what bells are. Do they have that in old-timey London?
They call them dingawobbles. They had to change the name. What's this banger dingawobble? They got even stronger in the late 80s when they streamlined their entire operation. They started preparing most of the food off-site and shipping it into each location, which allowed for two things. First, they were able to take the layout of their restaurants from 70% kitchen to 30% dining room. Flip that, now it's 30% kitchen, 70% dining room because they're not cooking the food there. Just the meat, but nothing else is really made, if you could call it meat.
You gotta bring that cow in.
Yeah, they got rid of the slaughterhouses that was in each Taco Bell. So now more customers could be in there, but also by doing most of the cooking off-site, they were able to drop down their costs so low that they could offer prices even lower. So they started offering a discount menu in 1988, which as far as I could tell made them the first fast food place to offer such a thing. They took this even further in 1990 with their 59, 79, 99 cent value menu offered in, at that time, 3,273 locations.
Yeah.
So it was moves like these that had Taco Bell doing better business than McDonald's in the early 90s.
Yeah.
So they started opening up counter versions of Taco Bell in airports and sports arenas and even in supermarkets where they started selling Taco Bell brand taco shell, salsa, and beans in 1993. Around this time, they also gave up completely on having company-owned locations, and now it's just franchising. Okay. So they sold off their company locations to franchisees. So you guys just take care of everything.
Take the name.
Give me. Yeah. I'm playing the world's smallest taco. You know what that means. Money's coming. When you see a taco weep under the moonlight, that means money's coming in your future. So we know Taco Bell's popular, but their secret weapon is their marketing and the constant food experimentation.
Yeah.
So let's start with the marketing. In 1989, they became the first fast food chain to link up with a blockbuster movie to cross-promote. Guess the movie.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No.
Bill and Ted.
No. 1989.
Oh, Batman.
Yeah.
Was it really?
It's Batman.
How?
Well, because we were talking about Bane before. They cross-promoted, like, Batman eats...
Oh, I see. So you watch a
Batman
Taco
likes
Bell
chalupa.
commercial and it's got Batman in it for some reason. But there's no
Exactly.
Taco Bell in Gotham City.
No, they went with Del Taco for that one. They were in Nagel City.
Bruce, we don't have time.
There's always time for Nagels. Their catchphrases, they started with "Make a run for the border."
It's funny. Not really, though. I hope that got scrapped really quickly.
That lasted for like 20 years.
Sheesh.
Then they had "The Cure for the Common Meal," which I feel like was something from Mad Men. Then in 1997, they brought in a little Chihuahua named Gidget, and the voice of a man named Carlos Alazraqui.
Yeah, he does a lot of voices. He does Rocco's Modern Life.
Really? Who was he in Rocco's Modern Life? You're joking.
No, he's also in Reno 911.
He's Reno 911.
Yeah.
I know that. Are you kidding me? He was Rocco?
Yeah.
So it was a new series of commercials with the catchphrase "Yo quiero Taco Bell." These commercials only lasted 2 years because they wanted to change their company image to being more about fresh ingredients, and having a dog with plenty of usable meat on it as a spokesperson they felt was not the right path to go with. Let's not draw the parallels any further.
Yeah, let's stop it right there.
Yo
More
quiero
food, though.
human rights for a dog. In 2003, they actually lost a lawsuit against 2 guys who said the Chihuahua thing was their idea. From there, they changed the slogan to "Think outside the bun," and today it's "Live Moss." Gidget the Chihuahua didn't get turned into a chalupa, but instead lived on a level of fame none of us will ever achieve. She appeared at Madison Square Garden. She was in Legally Blonde 2. She opened up the New York Stock Exchange one day, and she was in a Geico commercial in 2002.
I remember that. Like, I remember some commercial
I remember watching the
campaigns.
stock market open that day.
I was distraught. I mean, orange juice was down or whatever the hell they measure by. Whatever they're looking at.
The breakfast market, because it's in the morning.
Yeah, I remember that commercial campaign and hating
Sausages up.
every second of it. It happens, you hate it. Then there's parodies and you hate those. And you're just like, this won't end.
She retired to a life, Gidget, of leisure in Santa Clarita.
Oh, cool.
Until she had a stroke at the age of 15
No.
in 2009. We lost Gidget.
Oh.
Yo quiero military funeral.
Yo quiero immortality.
Yo quiero rosebud. The world's smallest tacos playing in my ear again. They also had a lot of gimmicks that got a lot of people excited. Like in 2001, when the Russian Mir space station was going to crash back into Earth, they put a big tarp in the ocean off of Australia that had a bell for a bullseye and said "Free taco here." And if it crashed into the Taco Bell tarp, they promised to give everyone in the United States a free taco.
Wow.
It did not hit, so everyone in the country was forced to eat a
And
bowl
I
of borscht.
starved that night.
Never walk over my jokes again. So in 2007, they had the Steal a Base, Steal a Taco promotion that everyone in the U.S. would get a free taco for each stolen base in
wanna
that
keep
year's
these
World
things
Series.
away.
I know. I feel like I could go into a Taco Bell on any day of the week and I would get a free meal.
Probably.
And not just because of who I am. They were even able to turn bad press to their advantage when in 2011, a class action lawsuit against them claimed their beef was only 35% actual beef. They countered with an ad campaign that said, "Thank you for suing us," and touted that their beef, it's actually 88% beef. And the lawsuit was dropped.
You can't argue with that logic.
No,
that
you
comedic
can't.
logic.
Hey, you can't argue with math. And then there's the second part of their success, their crazy menu items. There's the classic, like the Crunchwrap Supreme came out in 2005, Mountain Dew Baja Blast in 2004. Then there were things like the Beefy Fritos burrito, which has Fritos in it, the Double Decker, so I guess it is called that. I scolded you earlier.
You did.
They're not called Double Deckers, they're called Chalupa Lupas.
And you spit on my shoe. And you said, "You call yourself Mexican American? How dare you?" Cesar Chavez is rolling in his grave because you don't know what double decker taco is.
The Double Decker Supreme Taco, which is a hard shell taco, layer of beans, then a soft tortilla. 7-layer burrito, the Cheetos burrito, the Naked Chicken Chalupa, which is a taco with fried chicken as a shell. The BLT taco, the Firecracker burrito, which had savory pop rock exploding things in it. The Chocodillo, which was a Kit Kat quesadilla, which I really wanted, but killed too many kids or something. In 2014, they started serving breakfast with things like the Naked Egg Taco, which is a taco with a shell made of fried eggs. Waffle Taco, you can fill in the
Yeah.
blank. French Toast Chalupa.
It's like a lot of these are dares, and like people are like, "Oh, can you imagine they did it? I bet you won't get one. I bet you won't get one." And they sold 2 tacos that way. That's like on purpose. Like,
Well, you'll hear how successful some of these things. March 2012, after 3 years of testing, they came out with the big one, the Doritos Locos Taco. Their biggest hit until earlier this year when they unleashed nacho fries, which was their most successful product launch in Taco Bell history. They sold over 53 million orders in 3 months. That's a lot of friends daring a lot of friends, isn't it, Greg? These people
you don't have a lot of friends.
Yeah. You don't have 47 million friends? All that being said, they were also the first fast food place to offer a section of their menu approved by the American Vegetarian Association, which is just like a plate of tortillas. In 2014, they opened up an experimental, slightly more upscale version of Taco Bell in Huntington Beach called US Taco Co. That was Day of the Dead themed. It closed in a year. They got to learn, stop opening these experimental restaurants in places like Huntington Beach and Pasadena. They also opened a cantina style version in Chicago called Taco Bell Cantina. But that one original location where it all began, it closed in the 80s and became a few other mom and pop taco places over the years until 2014 when it became abandoned. It was going to be demolished, but the developer of the land let the Downey Conservancy know. So they're able to work with Taco Bell to save the building, which they transported on the back of a truck in November 2015, late one night down the 405 to the Taco Bell headquarters in Irvine. People just driving up to it, trying to order.
Is that the original Taco Bell?
Wait a minute.
Hey!
Did that used to be a Taco Tia? Today, Taco Bell sells over 2 billion tacos and 1 billion burritos a year, taking in about $10 billion every single year. Some of that goes towards their Taco Bell Foundation for charity and the Live Moss Scholarship, which I keep applying for. All this coming from their over 7,000 locations worldwide on every continent but Africa and Antarctica. One place there's no Taco Bells, Mexico. In 1992, they thought it was time to break into the motherland and opened up a few locations. They all closed within 2 years.
Yeah.
Then they tried again in 2007, opening up a location in Mexico City, but this time not pretending to be actual Mexican food, because the first time around, nobody understood what any of the food was. So this time they renamed stuff like calling crunchy tacos tacostadas. This lasted 3 years and they haven't tried since. One food critic in Mexico said that trying to bring Taco Bell into Mexico is like bringing ice to the Arctic. This is why Taco Bell doesn't try to pass itself off as Mexican food anymore, but instead as Mexican-inspired food.
And that's all they needed to say from the beginning.
Don't pretend. Don't even pretend it's Mexican anything anymore. This is just, I don't know what this is, but I want it.
It's like the Thing, where it morphed with a taco. And then,
what is it? Yeah.
And then it pretended like, I want a taco, I want a taco.
Yeah,
People are like, you're not a taco.
taco.
I know a taco. You're not a taco.
One of these things in here is not really a taco.
It's taking sauce from each taco.
And I'm going to put a little bit of fire on this. He puts it on, it squirts in his eye.
That's it.
So I'm starving again.
Yeah.
What's your first one?
I'm going to be talking about Zankou Chicken.
I always call it Zankou. You're calling it Zankou. You had an official consultant.
I had a consultant on this one.
It's Zankou.
Zankou. Off record?
Off record?
Zankou.
On record, Zankou, sir.
There's a lot of really hard things to pronounce in here, so be patient. I have a white person's mouth, so I apologize. This humble little story begins in the most humblest of places, Beirut in Lebanon, the very not turbulent year of 1962. The franchise started in, here we go, Barouj Hamoud district of Beirut, which was once a slum for Armenian refugees who escaped the genocide and was blossoming into like a cultural area for Armenian community in that area. It opened as a little spot that sold rotisserie chicken and was opened by Vartkes Eskandarian and his wife Margaret. It was named after a river in Armenia, and although Google didn't indicate that there was a Zankou River,
it got swallowed up by the same San Bernardino flood.
they're connected in a weird way.
There was a really big splash. We don't know where it went.
On their website, we named it after a river in Armenia. They don't tell you anything about the river, but then they say that the word for bell in Armenian is Zankag.
Wait a minute. Bell?
Bell, yeah.
Like Taco Bell.
Like Bell, Bell.
You're kidding me.
No.
That's so weird.
It's pretty odd.
Are all of the, is Panda, we're going to be talking about Panda Express, is Panda Bell in Chinese?
Oh my, let's look it up. Fact check.
Google Translate. What does Panda Express mean in Chinese? In Cantonese, not Mandarin.
Siri, on their first day, they sold one chicken. And on their second day, they sold two chickens.
To another chicken, trying to get his wife back. Why did the chicken buy the chicken?
Because it was a lady doctor.
Because he couldn't operate on his son. Wait a minute, I got it wrong. Because the doctor's a man. Oh.
On their first day, they sold one chicken. And on the second day, they sold two chickens. That's double the first day.
At this rate, they're going to be great.
I can't wait to get to day 300. We're going to be doing pretty good.
It's day 2. I see where we're trending. Place an order now for 8,000 chickens for next Thursday.
I have a hunch. Their shop was tiny. It had a lot going against it, but something that would distinguish them early on, even in 1962, in this little shack in Beirut, was this. Now, Zankou Chicken is known for two things. The first thing, their most prized possession, their tangy garlic sauce.
I love it.
Even in 1962, that tangy garlic sauce.
It's so weird that these places usually become known for their sauces.
Yeah, right? That's what I go for. I'm a saucy guy. I like slop.
Saucy guy.
I like slop.
I ask for everything without sauce. Can I get this before you cook it?
Can you put more sand on that? Now, it's said to be a secret family recipe, but I stumbled upon an 80s to 90s LA Times clipping, and it read the ingredients because I respect family secrets.
Loose lips.
I will not say it on this podcast. It's out there if you're curious.
I flagged that article as spam.
It's deceptively simple. All the stuff that I could buy like today at like a gas station.
Male enhancement pills.
Batteries.
Air freshener for your car. Easy.
Leave
and also a
for
little bit of a tiny thing of old motor oil.
Splash some Four Locos.
It's very good stuff.
Four Locos?
No, yeah. Have I expressed my love of Four Locos on this show yet?
The garlic sauce is fantastic.
It is.
It really is.
Let's talk about our experiences with each of these places as we're talking about them. We talked about Taco Bell. I don't know much about it. I like those cinnamon things. You love it. Zankou Chicken, I do like a lot. Their garlic sauce is great. Yeah. But the last time you and I both had it.
And we said, this is going to be great.
When we're together, we don't spend this much money on food.
Yeah.
Which is not a lot of money.
No, it's known for its affordability, Zankou.
But we thought, hey, let's treat ourselves. Let's get some nice chicken. We ate it. We were so so happy. We came, I think, to record an episode shortly afterwards. I almost got run over by your own car trying to run to the bathroom.
You left my car. You ran to the bathroom. And I had to go too, and I had to park the damn thing and been like, save a stall for me.
It wasn't even like, you got to go find parking. Like, the spot was right there. I made you let me out here, and I ran to the bathroom. We both got not good food poisoning.
I put a plumber's daughter through college. That's what I did to that bathroom.
You ever heard the old one about the plumber's daughter? She was a doctor.
She could operate, because this is not 1921, and you're allowed to be more than just a nurse.
Not to put it down, but that was our last experience. Still, garlic sauce is great. I stand by that.
I'm a big fan. I think I'll get to my first experiences with it, but we'll get there.
Yeah, let's get there. Oh, that wasn't your first experience?
You're going to love it. Nothing's going to happen to you.
You're going to digest this so slowly.
So in the early days of Zankou, there was no cash register, no tables, no chairs. They utilized every inch to cook the chicken and food prep. Customers had to park on a one-way street, then they run in and hand Vargas the cash and then run back out. You can't eat here. Their son, Mardiros, said that it was a drive-thru before there was a drive-thru. I challenge that and call it a run-in.
I had a run-in with a chicken.
Delicious.
He was trying to cross the road to...
The mother was the doctor.
He was trying to cross the road because he was an old man. He was a human who was walking and crawling and using a cane. What?
Well, how did I
my
get
metaphors are turning into the Sphinx.
I'm mixing up my similes and my metaphors.
My riddles are loose.
There was 3 Iskandarian children. There was Mardiros, who was the oldest, and then his sisters, Dzovig and Hygon. Just as simple as their setup was their mission, which was to share with the community the delicious family chicken recipe. They started with chicken and
wait a minute. Are they giving out the recipe?
No. They're going to share it as in.
But in the LA Times in about 20 years, you can get that.
You can just look it up. If you subscribe to the LA Times, you could probably find it. I feel like it's a trick. I'll show you in person.
We'll meet in the LA Meekly test kitchen.
I'm going to put them out of business.
I'm going to take their sauce and put it on tacos.
So they started with chicken as slowly their Mediterranean menu grew, as did their clientele. They just built a fan base around it. Now come to our homeland. The history of our Armenian community in LA goes back to like the late 1800s.
Really?
Yeah. There was a huge surge in population and grew around the time of the Armenian genocide, which was 1915. That was the second wave. At this point, the Armenian immigrants began to settle in little pockets of Los Angeles, most notably East Hollywood and Glendale, around the 1940s.
Do we know why?
Not really.
I mean, why anywhere?
Yeah, why anywhere? Like, I think like a couple families moved one place, and then like they opened up like a newsstand that has Armenian or Chinese or Korean, whatever, and then people were like, oh yeah, people speak Korean over here, and no one else does. Let's go there.
Everyone thinks there's probably some big reason. Like, there's got to be a reason. There's so many Israeli people in Tarzana. There's probably one family that moved there. Another family knew them.
And they opened up a bakery with all the food that I know. So we're going to go there, and I'm going to open up a dry cleaning business right next to them. And then
what are you making these stereotypes?
I'm not. I'm just saying, mom and pop shops.
Well, the daughter was a dry cleaner.
I can't dry clean my clothes.
I can't dry clean this chicken.
Well, the thing with East Hollywood is that it's a very cultural, diverse part of town. You have Thai town, you have historic Filipino town, there's Koreatown to the south. The area known as Little Armenia is in East Hollywood. The borders are Hollywood and Santa Monica Boulevard, Vermont Avenue, and then the Hollywood Freeway. The most intense surge in population is said to be in like the 1970s when the Soviet Union lifted immigration restrictions. And then there was that's the big third wave, I believe. So the Iskandarians have been serving their community in Beirut for 20 years or so, and their little chicken spot Zankou is thriving. According to the reading, Mardiros was really taking charge on a lot of different aspects of his parents' business. He was not a standby son. He was very active in operations. I read this weird thing about him, and it doesn't really have to do with that, but it's a weird thing, and it happens in this point, basically, 1979. He was about a block from their Zankou spot, standing in front of an empty storefront when 2 men on motorcycles sped by. Now, previously, there was some dispute about rent that he and a tenant had. I don't know too much about that, but from what I read, the 2 men on motorcycles spotted Mardiros, did a lap, came back wearing masks, and fired rounds from AK-47, hitting Mardiros 16 times, and he lived to tell the tale.
What?
Yeah. That could just be like a tall tale or whatever.
That sounds like The Godfather.
It sounds like Fredo let it happen. From that point, I'm sure it was like, I think we should move. Let's not be here anymore. His parents didn't really want to come to America. They didn't even want to really continue in the food business. If they came to America, they were interested in opening a dry cleaning service, which is why I was in my head.
Is that a common thing that Armenian people would do?
I have no idea.
Let's phone an expert.
But Mardiros knew that Zankou was something truly special. He had visited Los Angeles before and seen these pockets of communities from people from the Middle East, but no significant fast food places that were serving them. Barely any recognizable food from the region. So he pitched the idea to his parents, and they said no. And he said, oh, come on. And they said no. And he said,
shucks.
And he said, come on. And they're like, yeah, right.
It's so weird that basically the idea for every fast food is like, well, this is an ethnic sort of food. Yeah, let's make this really fast.
Let's get them in and out the door and take their money before they realize the food's not good.
Before they realize they're about to get food poisoning.
The Iskandarians.
In one instance.
Only one time. I've eaten there a lot. The Iskandarians were going to Hollywood after serving their community in Lebanon for 20 years.
So they got in their convertible. They drove across the Atlantic.
PCH, which connects to to the Mediterranean
Used to
Sea.
connect into Israel.
They've been doing their thing in Lebanon for 20 years. Now they're coming to Hollywood. They're here to spread the good word in Los Angeles. And that word? Bird.
Bird kebab.
Their son Mardiros led the way and opened up their first Los Angeles location on Normandy and Sunset. He picked a tiny little spot, and I mean tiny, next to a laundromat in a very ratty, and I mean ratty, mini mall plaza with the worst parking. And in East Hollywood, they already had a built-in customer base of Armenian Lebanese compatriots who fled to Lebanon during the Civil War. So that was already there for them when they got there.
Is this location still here?
Yeah, I was there like a year ago.
What is it near? I can't picture it.
I want to say it's near...
Put it in terms I can understand.
Vermont and Sunset is what? The Red Line station. Normandy's a small street. It's like, it feels like a one-way, but there's like two... Whatever.
Well,
it's a small
put
little...
it in terms I can understand. You put it in terms no one can understand.
Anyone who knows the city will know it.
Anyone who studies the Thomas Guide will know.
Robert Peterson will get it.
Well, fine. Go chew a library with Robert Peterson.
So the community is craving food from their homeland, and here comes Zankou. And even early on, they had a reputation for serving some of the most natural and fresh Mediterranean food, serving it fast and serving it affordably. They never used cans, freezers, or microwaves. They used no preservatives, no artificial ingredients. Over the years, Mardiros tweaked the menu, and his mother continued working on the spices. She's the one basically who came up with the garlic sauce. But eventually, they gathered enough foot traffic from such a wide variety of people, a diverse group would roll through Zankou. Not just Lebanese Armenians anymore. Anybody walking around East Hollywood would stop here.
That's such a specific demographic. If it's only Lebanese Armenians living in East Hollywood.
I imagine like the first crowd were people who are already familiar with that type of food, and then it spread beyond to like people who knew those people who had it once, and then I tried a new thing, and then like suddenly a buzz grows around it, then everyone wants to try a new thing. Early on, they were getting noticed by having really...
I like hamburgers.
I'm tethered to hamburgers.
I made a commitment. I signed a contract.
I mean, sometimes even sandwiches. I'm like, what is it, a hoagie? I can't eat this. Where's the patty?
Patty was a doctor.
Early on, they were getting noticed by having really tender and juicy chicken, which was achieved by only using a simple rub of salt and working the chicken on the rotisserie, not letting the rotisserie do the work. They were raising and lowering the heat and shifting each chicken as it was cooking. They really worked each thing. But truly, it was their garlic paste that was getting attention. Now, they hit gold in 1991 when they got a write-up by famed LA Times food writer Jonathan Gold. I'll want to read his entire thing. It's like 3 paragraphs. While visiting the Garlic Festival in Gilroy, California, here's what he said. I don't know. He sounded like I'm just gonna do my own voice. Nothing in Gilroy though was as severe. Nothing in Gilroy though was as severe as the Armenian garlic sauce served at Zankou Chicken, a fierce, blinding white paste.
Wait, so they went to the Gilroy Garlic Festival to sell their garlic sauce?
Yeah, to hawk it, and then that's where they ran into Jonathan Gold. This is also the opening of the Road Warrior. Fierce, blinding white paste. The texture of
water is scarce. Oil is king.
Only the most savage survive.
Only the most seasoned survive.
A fierce, blinding white paste, the texture of pureed horseradish that scents your car, sears the back of your throat, and whose powerful aroma can stay in your head, also your car, for days. A couple of drops is enough to flavor a hunk of bread. A modest schmear will do an entire shawarma sandwich. Go ahead, car freshener. My money is on the sauce. It's also good with chicken. It's famous for a barbecue chicken sandwich, which is rolled in a pita with tomatoes and enough of the sauce to make a lasting impression on the next few dozen people you meet. Zankou chickens seem to make it onto the buffet at a lot of Hollywood parties. This is what you eat at Zankou. Barbecue chicken sandwiches, excellent falafel. Shawarma carved off the rotating spit and served warm with superbly caramelized edges and sweetly gammy as the...
I just had dinner and I'm
starving.
Hungry.
I'm starving now. As only properly overcooked lamb can be. There is a wonderful mutabal, a smooth, creamy roasted eggplant dip with sesame top note and a powerful smoky flavor served with dusting of spice and a slick of good olive oil. The sesame dip hummus is fine and grainy, and spit roasted chickens are superb. Gold, crisp skinned and juicy with developed
spit. It's so gross, but it's making me so hungry to think about spit.
Developed chicken flavor and the kind of bird that makes you want to scour the carcass for stray bits of carbonized skin and delicious scraps of flesh. This is the Mad Max part. Or hoard your favorite bites. The rich chunk of dark meat, right where the leg joins the thigh, or that tender strip of running along the top.
You're blurring away and turning into a rotisserie chicken right now.
Greg, I'm going to need you to strip naked.
Would you mind sitting on this pole I brought with us?
Such chicken really needs no embellishment, but a little bit of garlic sauce couldn't hurt. That's the write-up from Jonathan Gold, and I'm sure it sold 1,000 chickens.
The words that launched 1,000 chickens.
They had been gaining more and more attention, more and more positive write-ups for the food, and more customers. It was time to, in Mardiro's mind, to expand. His parents, once again, fought him on this, but he persisted. He had his eyes on opening a location in Glendale because there was a huge Armenian population there. At this point, a deal had to be made, and the family agreed to split up the franchise. The family, which was his parents and his two sisters, would retain the original Zankou in Hollywood. Any new restaurants he opened up would belong to him, and he would have no stake in the original location. So anything you want to do from this,
beef.
yeah.
You got to use different terminology. We're talking about chicken.
You were talking about chicken. There was beef here.
So it was beef in the family?
At this point, there was no beef in the family. There's no bad blood. Mardiros wanted to push forward. The family
Only
didn't.
lamb.
Only lamb, which is another kind of
no
euphemism.
bad blood, just really tasty blood.
Yeah, there's no bad feelings over this. Mardiros wanted to push forward. The family didn't. The garlic paste would still be prepared by his mother and used for every Zankou anyways. He also decided...
Just milk it out of her.
Just, hey, listen, lady, I need you to make as much of this as possible.
Slurp it.
He also decided to have his sister Zovig manage some of the new stores. She's going to be working in the operations. He's going to be pushing forward. So it's 1992. The Glendale Zankou opened on Colorado Boulevard. Opening day of this new location was heavily crowded, and the success of that location led to Mardiros opening locations in Van Nuys, Pasadena, which was my very first one. Next is the Comics Factory, and Anaheim.
Which one's the Van Nuys one? It's not. Is it on Sepulveda Boulevard? Because I know there's one on Sepulveda Boulevard.
It must be that one. The only one I know in the valley is...
There's several in the valley. Granada Hills.
That we went to.
The one on Van Nuys on Sepulveda Boulevard.
That must be that one. And
yeah.
then the other one in Tarzana or whatever.
I don't know what one that is.
Well, I just know more of the city.
Maybe Robert Peterson knows which one that is.
He probably does.
He probably found it on his Thomas guide.
They're reliable. So now they have it all the way down to Anaheim. This little nondescript Mediterranean chicken place in Hollywood now was raking in $2 million a year, half of it pure profit. He was now living in a huge white house in the Verdugo Hills, high above Glendale Community College, which we could all see off the two, and like, who lives there? Guys who make Zankou chicken. He was living well. He had live-in servants.
It's actually where I was last night for one of the Halloween haunts.
The Hills of Glendale?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, right next to Glendale Community College.
Beautiful.
That was the
up
Donnie
there.
Darko one.
Oh, really?
There was that one, and then there was this chicken-themed one. I didn't bother to go.
I didn't go in there. It was pretty sad. His wife, Rita, would tend to their 4 sons. They had 4 sons, Dikran, Steve, Ara, and Vartkis. And as for Mardiros, he spent his days driving between Zankou locations, doing payroll, making sure the food was up to par, which I mentioned was like, I want another one.
Yeah.
Give me another one.
Still hungry.
Still hungry. And he was just looking over operations. He was very active in
Tasting
his
everybody's food. Give me some of your falafel.
Haya owned this. Is that fries? We
I'm
don't make
the owner.
fries. And then the cancer hit.
Oh, no.
And it was pretty grim. It did not look like he would be surviving it. And now comes the other thing Zankou is known for.
Yeah. Yep.
Mardiros tells his family that he has cancer, and it's
Is it the ketchup?
Is it another kind of sauce?
Please tell me it's their spicy peppers.
Mardiros tells his family that he has cancer, and it's pretty solemn news for everyone, which is expected, of course. When the question of who will take over the family business comes up, Mardiros answers that his sons will continue managing Zankous. And this isn't official, this is just speculation, but it seemed like Mardiros' mother, the matriarch of the Zankou franchise, did not like that news. Mardiros' sons ranged from teenagers to men in their mid-20s, and they were not, some of them were troubled, some of them were just not active. They weren't at that point in their lives doing what their dad did. So like they just seemed like layabouts. Maybe, if this is the reason why all this. After Mardiros told his family about the cancer, his mother's behavior completely changed toward him, and she all but completely ignored him from that point. She almost didn't say a word to him for a year. They lived in the same house. Her son, who turned a little chicken spot in Lebanon into a giant white house in the Verdugo Hills, her son, who's dying of cancer, wouldn't speak to him. His chemo was wreaking havoc on his body. His hair fell out. He lost like 60 pounds. He had no strength. The cancer was spread to his brain, and that seemed to be affecting everything that your brain is responsible for, which is everything. One day he took out a photo of him and his mother out of a frame. He ripped the half of that photo containing his mother, and he set that little half of a photo on fire. It's pretty dramatic.
Rotisserie style.
He spun it around on his
It was the most delicious broken photo. It was, you could really taste the tragedy.
It was pretty dramatic. Well, after that, the real drama set in when the house caught fire a day later. Mardiros and his wife had to be rescued from their balcony by the fire department.
Wow.
At this point, his mother moved in with his sister, Dzovig. The silent treatment continued after this point, and it just made him more emotional, angry, he was hurt, he was confused, and the treatments had caused a buildup of fluid in his brain, which had him thinking all this crazy jibber jabber. And one day, in January of 2003, Mardiros drove over to his sister's house, and after...
this recent?
2003.
Wow.
Drove over to his sister's house, shot his sister and shot his mother, and then shot himself.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Were they all dead?
Yeah. And that's the other thing Zankou's known for.
Yeah. That and the garlic sauce.
It's almost epic Shakespearean tragedy. It's so crazy.
With chicken.
With chicken and garlic paste. The remaining Zankous had to be then split amongst the children of Mardiros and Zovig, because remember, all the controlling stakes of Zankou died in a single day.
I'm just imagining the Shakespeare production of the Zankou chicken story.
It's going to be tasty.
His tastiest in years.
So the Hollywood location became the responsibility of Zovig's sons, which they shared with their aunt Haigon, and then they opened up another branch in Montebello. The remaining Zankous that were opened by Mardiros were looked after by their sons and his wife, who was, his wife Rita, completely bewildered. She had no experience managing anything, and in a single day, while grieving for her husband and family, had to become captain of the ship. She said this: "I didn't have time to cry. I had to get out of bed. I buried him, and 15 days later, I was running the business. I was not a working woman. I had no position, no ground, but I know how important this business is. This is what my husband built. I have to be on top of it. I am doing it for him, everything for him." Imagine that, having to take over the family business when you were just not doing anything.
And also to not be like, I can't believe he did it, but like, I still love it. I mean,
I know what you mean,
he was
though.
sick, but
yeah, to have to ride that fence of like, I can't believe he did that, but also
to have to understand that sickness made him do this horrible thing, but you also have to sort of stand by him because he wasn't in control.
Yeah, exactly. To be angry, but to have like a controlled anger of like, shoot. More trouble came, unfortunately, in 2006, though, when it became apparent that the 1991 split of the Zankous could and would be challenged by Zovig's sons. Now, she lost the court battle to take sole control of the trademark. She owns the Zankou's website, which does not list the Hollywood and Montebello locations. Mardiro's registration of the trademark lapsed in
Our history section's kind of short.
Mardiro's, he had registration on the trademark. That lapsed in 2000. The court in 2006 decided that trademark couldn't be split, and now both sides own it, which from the outsider's look seems fair. But then Rita's in-laws and one of her nephews countersued, alleging wrongful death and seeking tens of millions of dollars from Mardiro's estate. Right. Their lawyers had failed to file within the statute of limitations, and the suit was dismissed. All of this really messy, and I'm not sure where really it stands today. Internal struggles are internal struggles, but the food itself, still loved. Celebrities are all about Zankou. On their website, they have a photo of Jeremy Renner walking along with a Zankou bag. It's kind of out of nowhere, but I'm like, I get it. Like, he's an Avenger. I know why you're promoting this. There's a Curb Your Enthusiasm based on Zankou Chicken Dilemma, where a Palestinian restaurant...
It's
not. It's Al-Abbas. Larry and Jeff note that the restaurant is a perfect place for a Jewish couple to conduct an affair, since no one from the community would be caught eating there. It remains a Los Angeles staple known for two things: garlic and murder. That's Zankou Chicken.
No, the best murders are served
with garlic. Spread with garlic.
Say what you will about what happened to us when we ate there last time, but that garlic sauce,
it hasn't turned me off to it.
Because there's a few competitors like that, and some places I kind of prefer, like, I like the French fries of this place, I like the rice of this place, I like the chicken of this place, but it always comes down to, you have to have the garlic sauce from Zankou Chicken at any of these. Like, you could take it to any other Mediterranean place and it would be better. That
was another thing I read, because I feel that way about the garlic sauce, but you know what I get, and I treat it like it's a meal, is the hummus. I'll get hummus on its own. It's delicious. I don't need other food. I could just I'm just gonna get pita and hummus.
Dipping anything in anything, like bread in anything or some form of bread, like pita and hummus, baguette in olive oil and vinaigrette, or like chips and salsa. That's all I need. I don't need anything else at the restaurant.
I'm exactly the same way, especially when I'm drinking, because I don't want a lot of food in my system, because I want to get drunk on two things, not like four.
Well, I'm trying to get drunk on hummus. I ferment my own chickpeas at home.
You ever make jail wine out of hummus at home? I do.
You ever been really bored at home and put a bunch of garbanzo beans in the toilet and somehow it makes you drunk? That's me. Okay, so that's more of a dinner time food.
Yeah.
It's breakfast, baby. The next morning.
What did we do last night?
I don't know. I got drunk on a bunch of chickpeas. I need some breakfast. When we talk about New York bagels, they say there's something in the water. But when you talk about LA bagels, the only thing we've got in the water are surfboards and tasty waves. And it all starts with a man named Louis Oustin. We're talking about Western Bagel here, by the way.
Thank you.
Louis Oustin, who left Russia during the Russian Revolution and moved to the Bronx with his family and began to study to be a rabbi, but while he was in school, he worked at a bagel shop. Then comes the next generation. Enter David Oustin, born September 17th, 1919 in the Bronx, with bagels in his blood.
You should go to the doctor and it's not going to be a man.
This doctor is my own mother. I can't be here. They're going to sample his blood and put some fire in it and see. There's sesame seeds in there.
You're not well, sir. You might be a thing.
He started counting bagels in the back of trucks at age 9.
Busy work. Count these and
do these all have holes? Make sure. No, that's a Bialy. Throw it out. By 13, he was working full-time in a bakery. He served in the Navy during World War II, and I do mean served. Bagels. After that, he went back to work in a bagel shop, but one day he heard someone in the shop say that there were no good bagels in California. So on an overheard preference of taste, he packed up his wife and 2 business partners and moved. His wife is a doctor. His business partners were actually... garlic sauce, whatever we're talking about. They moved to Culver City in October 1946 to open up a bagel shop to show the West Coast how it's done. The first Western Bagel opened in 1947 at 324 West Pico Avenue near Staples Center. Wasn't there at the time.
I bet it was.
It was Paperclip Stadium back then.
That's cute.
This is cute.
This
was the first dedicated bagel shop in Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah.
And what year was this?
1947. It served 3 types of bagels, water, egg, and salt. And on day 1, water is plain.
Oh.
You look looked shocked.
I was confused for sure.
So on day one of this place, according to them, give me a guess on how many bagels you think they sold.
60.
Day one. According to them, they sold 57,276 bagels. I don't believe
That's
it.
a joke.
I can't believe, because they put it in terms of this many dozens, and so I had to multiply that by 12. I don't understand how they could have made that many
That's
bagels.
not real.
I don't know. It's weird, but hey, it's true.
Them to each other? Did they sell it to each other?
They sold it and then bought it back and then sold it.
That went on all day.
That went on 57,276 times. However, David found that the tastes in LA were different from in New York, so he started to adapt his bagels to those preferences by cooking them on sheets rather than right on the oven floor, which gave them a softer and chewier consistency than the denser, crisper ones that you get in New York. So that's why bagels are sort of different. It's not...
It's just the way they're cooked?
Well, I mean, it just became a more predominant style in
okay.
Los Angeles than how they're done in New York. And also, it's in the water bagel. They were a big hit.
Rats.
They were, you see, when rats secrete into the water...
See, when you cook something in a town made of trash, it tastes different.
Here, drink this sock. So they were a big hit. And in 1958, they moved headquarters to their current location at 7814 Sepulveda Boulevard in Van Nuys, where it's right by Zankou Chicken. There, they were able to have a bigger factory that allowed them to go to the wholesale route and provide bagels to restaurants in town. They brought bagels to the masses in LA, which is why they refer to themselves as the bagel that won the West, because you can reload it really quickly. I'm out of cream cheese. David had a son named Steve who grew up being given stale bagels as teething rings, and punishment for misbehaving was they made him work at Western Bagel. Secret was he loved working at Western Bagel.
He used to potty train through a bagel.
In 1985, he became president of the company, and in 1993, he built them a second factory to keep up with their growing demand. So they're now capable today of producing 5,000 bagels an hour.
They could sell it in an hour, apparently.
See, that's what they can make 5,000 an hour now, but on their first day, they sold 57,000 of them. I don't get it.
Bologna, which they're not familiar with because that doesn't go on a bagel.
They now serve 30 types of bagels, and they aren't a huge company, but it's a very local company. They only have 11 locations, and most of them are in the valley, but they're still the biggest bagel bakery west of the Mississippi. David died in 1997 of cancer, and he's buried at Eden Memorial Park, which is where Groucho is.
Oh, cool.
His
bagel joke.
Bagel joke. Oh, hey, did somebody say bagel joke? But Steve is still running the show, and he gives a lot to charity, food baskets to school, and stuff like that. Cool. Here's the most interesting part of the story: the debate over one particular item on their menu. In the early 70s, a teenager named Bruce Treitman was working at the Western Bagel in Woodland Hills, and as a snack for himself, he would throw some sauce and cheese onto a halved bagel and toast it. This became a favorite of everyone who worked there, so in 1974, they started selling them for 55 cents and called them pizza bagels.
Oh my lord.
However, a guy just outside Boston claims his dad also invented and started selling pizza bagels in 1974, the same year, but their style is to make a special bagel for it with no hole and put all the sauce and cheese on top.
That's not a bagel.
So is a bagel without a hole really a bagel, or are they just wicked bad wannabes? Regardless, Western Bagel popularized the pizza bagel. There's no debate about that.
Yeah.
And Treitman himself still works in LA at Deutsche Bank, so you can call him in the morning, call him in the evening, and call him at supper time to thank him for what he did.
Let's fight over who created this abomination.
Pizza bagels are pretty great.
They're fine. I haven't had one in a really long time.
It's been a long time. I'm proud of that. That's something to be proud of.
That is something to be proud of. I don't know if you want to put this on an episode. Isn't your mom in a picture of Western Bagel? Or
No.
Bagel?
My mom, my
maternal mother.
My maternal mother is the Noah's Bagel.
Noah's Bagel.
Noah's Bagel. My parents know Noah from Noah's Bagel.
Yeah.
And my mom was at a grand opening of one of the Noah's Bagels, and she was dancing with a guy in a bagel costume. So supposedly in a Noah's Bagels location somewhere, there's a picture of my mom dancing with a giant bagel, like in the 80s, and I don't know where it is.
We got it. A pilgrimage. Pilgrimage.
Every Noah's Bagel.
This isn't it. It's going to be like the beginning of Salem's Lot. Nope, we got to keep moving. I kind of want a bagel now.
I want a pizza bagel really bad. More than because I went recently to their main headquarters in Van Nuys.
And lab coat and clipboard and glasses.
Yeah.
What is this? Who is this?
So you say you invented the pizza bagel. So we're done with breakfast. We're done with pizza bagels. What's next on our menu?
I want a meal that I can get literally any time of day from like 10 to 1. And everybody loves it. Now, I did really staunch research.
Greg has brought out a children's placemat from the place he's going to be talking about.
And it's got a little timeline on here. I'm just going to read these 5 points of
In and out.
That's what our history research is all about.
Support Christ.
When we get there, it's going to get weird. I'm going to be talking about In-N-Out burgers.
All right.
One of my favorite places to go. If I'm out of state and people are like, you got to try this thing, I'm like, well, I passed a big giant arrow on the way over here, and we're gonna eat there, friend. I had a lot of help from this. There's a book, In-N-Out Burger, Behind the Counter Look at the Fast Food Chain That Breaks All the Rules by Stacy Perman. This book helped me a lot with half of the research. In-N-Out was the dream of a married couple, Harry and Esther Schneider. In-N-Out is really... Schneider. They're Canadian. In-N-Out is really just a simple hamburger spot. Their on-print menu, very small. We'll get to their speakeasy hush-hush menu a little later. But In-N-Out is a shockingly simple landmark burger chain. Their philosophy is simple. Serve the freshest, highest quality burgers and fries, treat your employees well, and your customers even better, and all while providing friendly service in a spanking clean environment. That is true of every In-N-Out I've ever been to, even the one in Barstow.
Barstow's coming up a lot in this episode.
I'm swinging hard at Barstow.
Feel free to spank in any of those spanking clean. You dirty little boy.
You can walk right in. Harry was born in 1913 to a working class family. His father, Henrik, was a house painter, and his mother, Mary, was a house cleaner. The family struggled to establish themselves anywhere. In 1950, the Schneiders landed in Seattle. They survived there for a while, but in 1922, the family moved to Los Angeles, California, right at the start of the huge population boom of the decade. It pretty much defined the decade.
Did they take the same car as the Seas family?
Yeah, they were on the same. They got along really well.
The Canada Caravan?
Yeah, the Kennedy Caravan. They first lived in a one-bedroom house on Central Avenue in Watts. Soon after that, they moved to Santa Monica. The West Side at the time was expanding its own industries. Douglas Aircraft Company built a plant at Cloverfield. The La Monica Ballroom opened up. Yeah, it's not what you think. It's not a fun footage horror movie. The Monica Ballroom opened up, which we discussed for 2 episodes, the Venice Piers episode and the Santa Monica Pier segment of Alias Landmarks.
Get away from that.
They might have shot horses there, didn't they?
Did they not?
Did they not? Maybe. Harry's dad was, by reputation, bad with finances, so they didn't stay in any place for very long, but remained in the beach communities for a long time, moving from rental to rental, leaving behind a trail of frustrated landlords. His dad was even arrested for beating up a landlord who came around asking for money.
What?
One known place, 220...
In-N-Out. My fist inside your heart. My fist inside your heart.
Mouth. One known place of residence was in Venice at 221 Market Street for the curious. Harry's teenage years sound fun. He engaged in petty theft. He smoked Chesterfield cigarettes. He sparred with his friends at the amateur boxing gym at Ocean Park. He still, after this, had a sense of responsibility. He worked several jobs in the area. He was a paperboy, a grocer. He sold sandwiches. He delivered hot dogs and hamburger buns.
He sells sandwiches, doesn't he?
That's such a depressing movie. They make him dance for sandwiches. Can everyone just stop and watch They Shoot Horses, Don't They? That's such a good movie. He wasn't much of a student by his own admission. He was not afraid of hard work. He just wasn't a good student. He managed to graduate from Venice High School, filming location of Grease. Briefly called himself...
Interesting that he will be serving Grease.
Around hot rods, which is what a feature of
That's
Grease.
what they're all about.
Briefly called himself a communist during his late teens, early 20s. He saw the capitalist system as a total failure and felt a need for a whole new system, which would be communism.
Did he like a hard shell or a soft shell Berlin Wall? Where did he stand on that?
He was sort of like leftist hard shell. Economically, he was hard shell. Socially, he was soft shell. He saw his dad struggle through working class existence his entire life. Harry did not want that for himself. With no economic prospects or proper jobs lined up for the future, Harry did what a lot of young men of the 40s did. He killed German people.
Doesn't he?
Specifically Nazis during World War II. He didn't actually kill anybody. He did serve in the war doing non-combat duties. He was drafted in 1942 at the age of 29. He had a perforated eardrum, which kept him from serving in the army. He didn't have to hide in a trench and stare at a photo of a lady in his helmet or whatever war is.
Lucky him. He had a perforated eardrum instead. How many just the last couple episodes has it been like this guy served in the Pacific?
I was thinking that too,
and then he came back and he started Taco Bell.
I think when you fight the Nazis, that's much more normal for anybody. Like me and you could have picked up a gun we're going to go to Germany and we're going to bring down this crazy Third Reich. I want a bunch of land in Germany and we got to kill a bunch of German people to do
land
it.
Grab.
Land grab.
Lamb grab.
Lamb grab.
I mean, Zankou Chicken. It's a lamb grab every time you're in there.
Jurassic Park reference.
Where's the garlic sauce?
He mostly sat behind a desk in his records department processing B-24s. I thought that would make sense when I wrote it down, and now that I say it loud, no idea what that means.
It's the prequel band to the B-52s.
That's pretty funny.
He was a producer.
The war's going on!
We're so not... We just display over and over again how unqualified we are for war by pointing out that the B-52 is what we know as a band rather than whatever it is from the military in real life.
Motorhead, like Lemmy? Oh, you're talking about car. Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't know what that means then. He moved around plenty while doing service and landed briefly in Los Angeles as a clerk typist for the Army Air Corps. But when the war ended...
I'm a clerk typist for the library.
That's a different kind of war.
That's like a war on your self-esteem.
When the war ended in 1945, Harry packed up...
My war never ends.
V-Day. A guy kisses the nurse. She's a doctor.
The day that will live in infamy because that nurse did not give consent.
She was not like, who are you? Don't kiss me again. It was 1947. He was 34, working as a caterer, selling boxed sandwiches to the cafeteria at Fort Lawton. Dropping off sandwiches at Fort Lawton one day in 1947, he delivered to the restaurant's manager named named Esther Johnson, and this woman would become his wife. Esther, we'll go through her story, came from a long line of coal miners from Illinois. Another
Coal miner's daughter?
Yeah, she was a coal miner. She is Loretta Lynn.
She became a doctor, though. All daughters are doctors.
All daughters are doctors.
But not all doctors are daughters.
Not all women are daughters. Maybe they are. Damn it.
And not all men, also. We want to make that clear.
Not me, that's for sure. Just like Harry came from a really hard labor working class family, a big one at that. Unlike Harry, Esther was an academic. She was also a church-going girl. She was raised going to a Free Methodist church. Esther was sharp. She was an honor student, as well as being a member of the Glee Club, the school chorus, and the commercial club, as well as being the class president and the assistant editor of the Shiloh High school paper.
Wait a minute. So she's very Christian. He is,
I guess, sort of Christian.
but what is his last name again?
Schneider.
Schneider, which is very usually a Jewish last name. So I'm confused of how it became so religious. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Jewish last name.
I guess I didn't pay attention close enough, but I know that his parents didn't speak English well, and they were from Canada. Are they French Canadian?
Could be, but I mean, Schneider's not really a French Canadian.
Yeah, then
name.
I don't know.
They could be just German.
I know they moved around a lot, and they landed in Seattle, and that's where
they forgot where they were from. They've got an accent.
You're around ships so much, you just speak the sea. You know?
Speak the language of the sea,
Sea.
which is seagull. Beautiful accent.
She was modest and achieved things quietly. College was a struggle, though, not because the studies were above her understanding, but because her grandparents became ill and Esther had to look after them. The money for tuition was hard to come by, and the time away from home was seen as a problem. She eventually, in 1940, after the passing of her grandmother, went back and earned a teaching certificate. She was working as a school teacher when the U.S. entered World War II, and Esther decided to join the war effort. She enlisted in something called the WAVES, which stood for Women Accepted for Voluntary Emergency Service. Yeah, let's call it WAVES. That sounds way better. WAVES' purpose was to fill the vacancies that were created when all the men went. Tens of thousands of them left to the war. WAVES was not a combat group, so they weren't hiding in trenches staring at photos of cowboys or in the helmets or whatever war was.
But punctured eardrums.
But they performed duties uncharacteristic for women at the time.
Being a doctor.
That's how she became a doctor. Working with the Navy, Esther served as a surgical nurse and a pharmacist nurse. Yeah. And by the end of the war, she earned the rank of pharmacist mate, second class. Esther had seen something during her service that stuck with her. No, it wasn't the burn victims. It was the West Coast.
Sunburn victims.
Sunburn victims. She was enchanted by the West Coast, and with another like-minded friend, made the trip to Seattle, enrolling in Seattle Pacific University and working first at a laundry, but then eventually landing a job as a manager of a restaurant at Fort Lawton that would be the meeting ground to her future husband. It was here in 1947 she meets Harry Schneider. The couple married in 1948, leaving Seattle for Southern California, where our story should begin, where the Schneiders owned a bakery. His parents owned a bakery. The two moved to a then rural area of Los Angeles, Baldwin Park. For the unfamiliar, it's along the 10 freeway where around the time you hit the 605, nestled between Almonte, where James Ellroy's mother was killed, and West Covina, home to haunted Galster Park. Post-war America saw Americans moving away from the city to the suburbs to start families, and post-war Baldwin Park was the ideal place for working-class Americans following the American dream of prosperity on their own terms. And doing this reading, I don't know if it's the first time it made sense to me. The American dream just truly means being your own boss. That's all that means.
Yeah, not working for anybody. Not who's working for who.
Exactly. It's just a continually shuffling. I don't want to work for you. I want to own my own business. And then that's you get Del Taco.
This is the freakish capitalism that created Nagels.
Baldwin Park in the 40s was orange groves, citrus orchards, vineyards, cattle ranches, and dairy farms. The PE Railway had a stop through town. In view was the snow-capped San Gabriel Mountains.
But was he from the wrong side of the taco tracks? Did we decide that was the metaphor we were going with before?
In view was the snow-capped San Gabriel Mountains, but the sun shined on that suburb perfectly. It was postcard Southern California, on the verge of the car craze that would become another cultural staple of the area. The Snyders moved into a very modest one-bedroom house at the corner of Vineland and Francisquito. I never say that right. Across the street.
It's Lebanese.
It means a river.
It means bell.
They were across the street from the Baldy View trailer park. This somehow matters. Around this time, Harry had an idea. Some call it a dream. In my opinion, you could look back at any success to the order point and call it a dream goal. You can't do that with a failure, though. But at this point, because he didn't know what was going to happen, I'm going to call it an idea. Harry had an idea. He watched his parents shuffle from job to job his whole life. He didn't want that. He wanted the American dream to be his own boss. He wanted to open up a little hamburger stand in Baldwin Park.
Everybody's ticket to success is a hamburger stand.
I'm going to open up a little thing right here.
You know what? This might be a crazy idea no one's done before. I'm going to open a hamburger stand.
But with this little hamburger stand came a pretty innovative idea. The shack they were operating out of was small, so small having a restaurant was out of the question, which wasn't even a thing at the time. When you said
shack, for some reason I immediately thought of Shaquille O'Neal, and then you said small, and I was like, that's not.
I did a search for In-N-Out Shack, and I was like, did you mean In-N-Out Shaquille O'Neal? No, stupid idiot.
His first location was a little Shaquille.
Having a restaurant was not even a thing at the time anyway, so like just to open up a counter, basically. He wanted a place where people could get sandwiches and go. Before you lose your poo, In-N-Out was not the first drive-through. That That award goes to Red's Giant Hamburg in Springfield, Illinois, off of Route 66. But this was only a year before, 1947. In-N-Out might be, in fact, the second drive-through location, but because Red's closed in 1984, In-N-Out is now the longest running drive-through.
Really? Even before McDonald's?
Yeah. McDonald's might be older, but they didn't have a drive-through.
Right. They had drive-ins?
I think it was more like a car hop. Apparently,
Like a Sonic's, which is the oldest of everything.
this is the oldest place you can get food. Jesus Christ with his disciples, the apostles,
Upon the Mount of Sonic,
they wanted fish.
he turned water into shakes.
Apparently, there was also a place in town on Sunset in Vermont called the Pig Stand, which some consider to be the first drive-in restaurant opened in 1932. But that's a drive-in, like I was saying, closer to a car hub. And it was actually Texas-born eatery. It wasn't a California thing, but they had a location in Hollywood. Anywho, drive-thrus. I can't imagine Red's was such a hit that on the West Coast people would have heard of it. So I imagine in the first year, it was just seen as a gimmick. So I assume Harry Schneider came up with the idea, I want to say almost independently. First, in his own mind, that kind of matters to me. But Harry Schneider and Red's Giant Hamburg were onto something. Car culture was pushing society's eating habits forward, and the next step in the evolutionary chain after car hops was drive-thrus. Southern California was the most heavily motorized place on the planet. By the 1940s, there's over 1 million cars in Los Angeles, 5 automobiles for every 4 families. The auto boom meant people were opening up just like any little eat-on-the-go burger and hot dog shack stands. And to attract these speeding customers, these little stands and shacks had to grab their attention, the more outlandish the possible. This was a sort of like googie and kitsch architecture boom that we like a giant tamale that sells not
kitsch,
tamales.
kitsch.
The Schneiders were not this sort of like googie and kitsch architecture people. They were modest. They wanted to open a modest little stand. They would have a hard time competing with that, but they're going to give it a go. With financial help from a man named Charles Nodden, Harry Schneider was able to open up his little burger stand. He also got advice from a fast food pioneer, Carl N. Karcher, who had built a small but growing chain of hot dog stands in Los Angeles. He called it Carl's Jr.?
Wait a minute. Did Carl's Jr. start in Los Angeles?
It just says that he had locations in
Maybe
Los Angeles.
just-
Maybe it was
okay.
not. Carl's advice, among other things, make people feel special. And I kind of like, when I read that, I'm like, well, that's corny. And then I read the rest
be
of it.
sexy about it. Make them feel special with the biggest breast you've ever seen. And they're spilling ranch dressing all over it. Ooh, yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what sells food.
So it's October 22nd, 1948, 70 years ago today, the day we're recording this. Today is
Right.
the 70th birthday of In-N-Out. The Schneiders opened up their first burger joint across the street from their house on Garvey Avenue. It was
in Baldwin Park.
in Baldwin Park. It was a modest, low-sling box on a small lot. Another philosophy of Harry's was to serve the freshest food. His nephew explained that his uncle wanted to take the lettuce out of the ground, the tomato off the vine, and the onion, and to prepare the burger fresh right
Bun
now.
straight off the tree.
Go to the bun tree, get it. The original menu was hamburgers, 25 cents. Cheeseburgers, which were invented in Pasadena at the right spot, mind you, were 30 cents. 15 cents for the french fries, 10 cents for soft drinks.
You know, I feel like those ratios of price is still the same. Like cheeseburger is 4% more expensive,
yeah.
and the French fries is 20% as much as this.
It's a formula that came up with by Carl's Jr. First
If you add all those percentages up, it equals 69 because it's Carl's Jr.
Harry came up with a name for his modest little hamburger stand that people would eat and go, and he called it Eat and Go. No, I'm just kidding. He called it In-N-Out.
He called it Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. Their early motto was no delay. That changed.
What is it now? That's what our hamburger's all about.
I think it's just drive-through.
Next customer. That's their motto.
Their motto now is half the Bible. I'm just kidding. They don't.
Their
they
motto
don't do
now
that.
is
I'm picking on them.
316.
They had a red neon sign with elongated corners, while block letters and stripes posted by the side of the road. This is not the one we're thinking of. It was the original sign. On their first day of business, they sold a total of 47 hamburgers to each other, probably. During their first month, they sold 2,000, bringing in around $1,100. Harry created,
Modest.
yeah, and he created, like I'm keep saying, he had like a strong philosophy behind all this. His philosophical formula that would become the operating principle in and out: quality, cleanliness, and service. Harry was known for being a fanatical about the quality of his food. He would visit meat suppliers to check on beef purchases and watch the butchers cut up the beef and make sure he got exactly what he paid for, which is pain. Pain about
Is he
it.
suffering? Good.
Good.
That's what our hamburger's all about.
He was also a clean freak, and he did not want his customers picking up food from a sloppy-looking burger stand. In and out, more like immaculate and out. He also didn't like sloppy burgers. He developed a system for building burgers. The secret sauce was spread generously from the bottom slice of the bun to prevent it from running off the ends. No drip except on the paper wrappers. Grilling burgers, it was minute on one side, 2 minutes on the other, as to not lose the juices. Gotta cook some fries up. Cooker was kept clean and floating pieces removed quickly. Salt was to be shaken while holding the container at shoulder length to ensure evenness. Buns were lightly toasted before the beef and the onion were added, and each burger received 2 slices of tomatoes. It's that simple. Just do it now. Only those.
Don't be an idiot.
Just do it. Just do it. Only those tomatoes that fit 5 wide in a specially designed box were deemed the right size.
It's so weird that as you're describing all of this, like I can taste each ingredient.
Yeah.
Like the slightly toasted
onion.
bun, the
Yeah.
edges of it are a little crispy.
The fresh lettuce, everything. Yeah, I can feel my teeth going layer by layer until they meet the other teeth. And like, did these put teeth in there? Oh, these are my teeth.
Is this on the secret menu? Can I get the burger that eats me? Thank you.
To help with this idea of no delay In-N-Out service, Harry put up his amateur electronics enthusiasm to the test and created a truly innovative device in the field of drive-thru food. He doesn't even really get credit for this. The two-way speaker was a creation from Harry Schneider. Yeah, he came up with this, and he came up with the idea to speed the process of ordering up. However, in 1948, people new to the speaker box had no idea what it was or how to work it properly,
shot it.
and they thought it was a communist witch sent to record your eating habits and sell it to the Ruskies. They had no idea what this was. So Schneiders had to
Drew a face on it.
I think they had to go outside and just like, you're talking to the box, and then my wife could hear you in that box.
Is that why there's still people out?
Yeah, probably. It's an homage. I don't know what that entails, but I imagine it sounded like sci-fi to everybody at the time. Harry Schneider doesn't really get a lot of credit for that, as I said. And in fact, Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's, seems to think he did it in 1971. You idiot.
You dumb southern boob. You didn't
You
invent
country bumpkin.
You didn't even invent anything down by the watering hole.
I also invented squares.
Also tacos.
I'm so sorry to every person with a southern accent that we refer to as dumb. I apologize sincerely.
Just individuals.
Yeah, just Dave Thomas. Esther referred to In-N-Out as the granddaddy of drive-thrus, and I agree. It's certainly California's first modern drive-thru. In the beginning, it was the Schneiders who did everything in the burger stand. They prepped the patties, they peeled tomatoes, sliced onions, sliced tomatoes. They stirred up the secret Schneider sauce, which would
Delicious. You want an extra Schneider sauce?
it would take Harry years to perfect this, and boy, is it perfect.
You want Harry Schneider sauce?
Harry Schneider's secret sauce. Harry ran the gas grill. Esther was in charge of the books. They worked grueling, punishing hours at In-N-Out, but it was paying off. The locals lined up outside of this modest little shack. They were incredibly popular at the trailer park across the street. People that were like, I don't really feel like cooking in the trailer, and they would just go to In-N-Out every night. So not only were they capturing motorists going in and out of Los Angeles, In-N-Out.
They were also capturing people who lived in motors.
Yeah, also they got foot traffic. 3 years.
See, we don't just make fun of Southerners.
We make fun of rubes in California too. People who remind us of Southerners. I'm so sorry. We don't mean it. Audible wink. 3 years later, in 1951, the business had established itself as a must-stop, must-eat burger spot. In-N-Out had long lines of cars snaking into streets, even in 1951. That happened today when I was getting food.
It's always
like
I
that.
mean-
By this point, they had employees working a small shack with too many customers. The employees, which might have been just 1 to 2 teenagers, had the In-N-Out look. Well-groomed hair, clean white shirt. Red aprons didn't come onto the scene until 70s. Paper cadet hat. That was the look even back then.
There, we have a hat right
We have a
here.
hat right here. I'm wearing it.
You're not wearing it.
Lie to everybody. I want to seem cool.
All right, but you're not wearing it. I've been lying. You're not wearing it.
You're Dave Thomas. He took Carl from Carl's Jr. advice to make people feel special, and by having truly polite employees, that was his ticket. Smiles for the customers, whether it's genuine or great acting. I watched a California Gold when Hill Hauser went there, and that was when it clicked like, oh yeah, I've always had really nice service at In-N-Out. I haven't had like a rude person. It's a weird, cool thing.
Well, it's if you treat your employees not poorly.
If you
happier.
pay them fair wages, they'll smile.
If you pay them enough, anyone will smile.
Pretty early on, he hired only male teens. I think there was an opportunity to hire a female employee in the
Because they didn't want to be operated on by their mother, the hamburger.
I can't cook this burger.
This burger, why not? This burger is my mother.
Harry didn't want female teenagers working in there, not because he thought that they couldn't do the job or they didn't belong in the workplace. His wife was a great worker. He was afraid of In-N-Out becoming hanky-panky hamburgers.
Oh, no.
He was afraid of it.
No
In-N-Out.
double here.
And I know that In-N-Out is also sexual innuendo, but any chance I have to say hanky-panky, I'm taking it.
I have to rename this place Whoopi and Whoopi.
Around this time, the early 50s, is when the hot rod craze of suburban LA went around. That's when that whole scene would just go around LA cruising, and they would need late night burger spots, and In-N-Out was there for them. They stayed open till 1 a.m. even back then. So In-N-Out in Baldwin Park was a local hangout for hot rodder dragsters,
Drag races.
drag racers, rolling on the raceways of Australia, gas guzzlers, looking for the hope.
The hope that is Harry Schneider's secret sauce.
I'm just happy to add Mad Max to the lexicon of movies we reference. It's about time.
Our palate is expanding.
It would become like a hangout scene. They would go, they'd park their hot rods, they'd listen to the radio, they'd eat burgers until Harry scared them away because he didn't really like them, but that was the scene anyways. But yes, In-N-Out was blossoming blossoming just the right time that dragsters and surfers were coming around.
And that's sort of an era they've tried to stay apart.
Yeah, they're trying to capitalize on that.
Living in that past for a long time now.
Every time I see a shirt with like it's a hot rods and it's like a airbrushed background, I'm like, I want that shirt. I know exactly what burger I'm gonna get.
Hey, this looks like a shirt made by the Harley Davidson company. I like this.
It seems like my dad's teenage years. I'm gonna eat that. My dad's first In-N-Out experience wasn't very late, and he said the closest one to him was there was Baldwin Park one, but all his friends, because they would cruise Van Nuys, would go to the one in San Fernando off the 5. It's like not Pacoima or Sylmar. It's like it's there still.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's San Fernando. That's
what is that?
I think that's more. If we are thinking of the same one, I think that is Pacoima.
Pacoima, right? I feel like it's Pacoima because that's that long stretch there. Then you see a bunch of Ridgely Valley and stuff. Oh boy,
that's Pacoima.
They were capitalizing right at the right time, and they were just sort of fusing with these like Southland archetypes. Like they were just like Pacific POP was coming at the same time as surf music and surf culture. It perfectly fused together. Perfect timing. Around the time they updated their logo from the red logo to what we now know. It's the long yellow arrow with the rectangle panel underneath reading in Gothic lettering, In-N-Out Burger. Iconic. By this time, the burger stand got noticed by the Hollywood elite who would stop by the burger stand on their way to Palm Springs. So it's the only road in and out to get to that side. Dinah Shore, Debbie Reynolds, Eddie Fisher, Lucille Ball, who was probably eating a burger when the Japanese were sending messages. Bob Hope was a huge In-N-Out frequent. Bob Hope's 92nd birthday in 1995 was catered by In-N-Out.
Oh, God.
Schneider's never wanted to build a chain or empire, but it happened. In 1951, they opened up their second location in Covina, and by the next year, 1952, they opened up 3 more: Laverne, West Covina, and Pasadena, stretching the franchise stretching the franchise across the San Gabriel Valley. But as business expanded, a relationship began to sour, and that was between Harry Schneider and the financier Charles Noden, the man who helped give the money for the original location. Schneider was happy with his output and weary about expanding. Noden wanted to increase prices and cut costs, which is what all the fast food franchises were doing at the time. But Schneider was stubborn, so by 1952, the two agreed that they could no longer agree, and they split their partnership as well as they split the existing stores. I don't really know who kept what. I think Harry kept the name In-N-Out and 3 of the stores, including the original location. Noden went on to open another burger chain in Pasadena. What Harry learned from this was to stay independent and to not share In-N-Out with his. That was his baby.
The Glen Bell way.
Yeah, do not share this thing with an outsider. Oh, and speaking of babies, in the early 50s, the Schneiders gave birth to a son whose name was, they should have gave it a minute. He prefers to go by Guy. His middle name was Guy, and he took his father's first name.
Harry Guy.
Yep.
Harry Guy Schneider.
Yep.
Perfect. Harry Guy Schneider sauce.
I don't want to eat that. The next year, they had another
But you know,
son.
a guy can't be a doctor.
That guy can. The next year, they had another son, Richard Allen. Something, though, was coming, and it would change Baldwin Park and the original In-N-Out forever, as well as the natural landscape of the entire state. And it was the 10 freeway, the Interstate Highway. 1954, the 10 freeway was built, and it was cut through right through Baldwin Park, forcing the Schneiders to tear down the original stand and rebuild a new one at a short distance. That's a shame, yes, but the freeway would promise more travelers that would be stopping by. Schneider once again innovated drive-through with the creation of the double drive-through, which I personally thought was a new thing, but I thought it was at least 10 years old, but that was a thing at the original In-N-Out.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, some of them have that.
If you're wondering if the 10 freeway was built over the original shack, it was, and the Schneiders lived across the street and their house was there. They also had to move. But don't fret, the Schneiders were now wealthy enough to move from Baldwin Park to San Dimas, California, home to Bill S. Preston, Esquire, and Theodore Ted Logan of Bill and Ted fame. In the movie, that's where they're from. That's where they took Genghis Khan and Abraham Lincoln to Raging Waters.
I was going to ask, which water park was it there? Raging Waters or Hurricane Harbor? They're both owned by Pepsi. It might be true, actually.
It's actually Sprite coming out.
It's Pepsi Crystal.
It was the mid-50s, post-war America, and they had now achieved the American dream. They created a business. They were their own bosses. They had a house in the suburbs of Southern California with 2 children. That was it. The Schneiders had made it, but they were not slowing down at all. They continued working hard on their modest little hamburger stand, and by 1960, they expanded to 7 In-N-Outs. And then the 60s hit. Could we cue on White Rabbit from Jefferson Airplane for this segment? Get Grace Slick on the phone. 1961. To fulfill a customer's request, a burger was prepared. A burger was prepared that cooked mustard along with the patty and was assembled with extra additions, pickles, extra secret Schneider sauce, or spread as we'll call it from this point on, and grilled onions. Now this is referred to secretly, when we shouldn't even be saying this here. This was the first animal-style burger.
In the 60s.
1961. It was made for all these animals on their dragster cars. They want all this extra sauce, baby.
Hippie burgers.
Yeah. In the 50s, they continued perfecting their image, and all these things we sort of now know them for. And I know I never gave too much thought about how cool it is, but there's a lot of little things about In-N-Out that do make you feel special. There's the secret menus. There's the will you be eating in your car placemats. There's different colored palm trees for the different types of cups. The drive-through wall windows so we could see the team cook because they believe in transparency. These are all really cool.
I voted on that.
Did you?
More transparency in In-N-Out. What'd you think I was talking about?
You
seem like I just duped you.
I must have thought that there was an In-N-Out vote and you were involved. I want to see all the guys doing fryer with body cams. I want to see body cams.
I want to know what's happening in those areas I can't see.
Schneider took Carl's Jr.'s advice and he made every customer feel special. And it's all these little tips and tricks to In-N-Out that are so neat. In the mid-60s, double doubles were added to the regular menu. That's 2 patties and 2 slices of American cheese between your buns. There's also a 3x3 and a 4x4. You used to be able to order as many patties, cheeses as you wanted, but some dipstick fudged it up for everyone and ordered 100 by 100, and now the limit is a 4x4. The 100 by 100 cost that bozo. We'll call him Icarus. It cost Icarus $97.66, 19,490 calories. So whatever happened to him, I hope it hurt. But you could also order a different company. You
better hope his mom's a doctor.
You can order a 4x2 or a 3x2, anything you desire. If you say the word cold, it means you prefer to have your cheese not melty.
Ew.
And yeah, you know what? Let's take this time to go through the sacred hush hush.
Okay, good, because I never know what it is.
There's a lot more than I'm going to list.
Do they have gorditas?
You can ask them. They'll probably make it.
Can I get a gordita?
No. I wasn't trained to say no, but no. I thought this list was containable, but it's seemingly not. There's a website that's like 29 awesome items on the secret menu. I'm like, is there more than 29? So I'm going to read this. Go ahead and cue Benny Goodman's Sing Sing Sing, which is funny enough what I was typing to just randomly when the
dun 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 dun.
Boom. Animal style can be applied to any burger or fries. It's the spread, cheese, and grilled onions. The secret for the animal style fries is to order the fries well, meaning they cook the fries longer and they get crunchy.
I don't like that.
But they get crunchy. They won't fold under the shape of the animal style editions. They won't go soft. They'll stay hard. You're stupid. The Flying Dutchman is 2 slices of cheese melted between 2 meat patties. No buns, no tomatoes, no lettuce.
Ew. So it's just you're holding meat?
Yeah, you're holding meat and cheese.
Stand there with my meat in my hands?
Everyone looking at me? Grilled cheese is everything you love about getting a cheeseburger without the meat patty. Vegetarians love it. Vegans hate it. Protein style. A regular burger with lettuce replacing the buns. Watch out, kiddies. This thing is cold and wet. You can also order a side salad, which is a double wrapper full of produce along with some spread to use as dressing. You can order a veggie burger, which is just lettuce doubling as a meat patty, but you get your buns. A wish burger is a toasted burger with lettuce and tomato. You can add the usual onion spread and pickles. It's a toasted.
I don't understand. Toasted, like the bread
is really crispy? The bread is crispy. You can say fries inside and you get fries in your burger.
Are you kidding me?
You could say that.
You didn't tell me this like 6 years ago?
You can order cheese fries. You can say light, which means undercooked fries. I don't know what that's about. A Scoopy snack is a single grilled patty. It's great to give the little doggies when they're on the car with you.
That's bad for them.
Nothing in it's bad for you. There's ways to customize your burger. Some people order mustard fried patties, which is like they fry mustard along with the patty.
I thought that's animal style.
I thought that too. I don't know the difference, but this one isn't animal style. It's just mustard along with the patty. You can customize your burger with chopped chilies as well. People order burgers medium rare, fries well done, whole grilled onions, chopped grilled onions. You can order a Neapolitan shake, which is the 3 shakes combined. You can get a root beer float.
Really?
Half a vanilla shake with a half a root beer. You can get a black and white, which is just the chocolate and vanilla. They come in a different colored cup.
How come they don't have cherry Coke? We've talked about this. Like, they need to have cherry Coke there. We've gone there specifically craving cherry Coke, and they don't have cherry Coke. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying like handcrafted cherry Coke. Just import cherry Coke.
Yeah.
Pepsi brand cherry Coke.
They're never going to change. These people don't change.
They'll never change.
That was a much needed detour. Let's get back on track in the timeline. It's the 70s and the company is thriving. They continue developing their brand, which is still coexisting with Southern California culture. In 1971, the Irwindale drag strip has been getting more popular due to the car craze. Harry has made an investment in 1965 in the raceway and now is paying off because the burgers were sold at concession stands to racers and fans, further fusing In-N-Out with the car craze. It was almost like eating In-N-Out meant you liked cars.
Yeah, it's a statement.
It's a statement.
No, it's a different kind of statement.
Which is, I'm so hungry. So it's 1972, and I don't know why this is my favorite fact of the whole story. Harry Schneider was a huge fan of the comedy movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, which involves every actor you've ever seen looking for buried treasure under a cryptic clue under the big W. And it turns out spoiler alert, skip ahead if you don't want to hear this, it's buried under 4 palm trees that resemble a W. And because In-N-Out was a Snyder's treasure, there's a tradition at some In-N-Outs to have the twisted palm trees planted at the location, which is some next level Ali Meekly stuff. Yeah. That's like us having a DeLorean. It's kind of corny saying that In-N-Out was Snyder's treasure and he crossed the palm trees to allude to that, but he also just thought it looked cool, and it does. It's a cool look.
It's a relaxing sort of look.
It is. 1976, Harry Schneider passes away after a bout with lung cancer at the age of 63.
How many cancers in this one episode?
Too many. At the time of his death, there was 18 In-N-Out locations across the Southland. He did that. He was buried at Forest Lawn in Covina Hills. Now, Esther takes over, and it comes time to make one of her sons the heir to the animal-style throne.
We know this doesn't go well.
But it doesn't go to the firstborn guy, who was a bit of a rebel. He was a bit of a car guy, a little bit into the drugs of the 60s and 70s. No. The title of the president goes to the younger and more conservative son, Richard. It must have been a huge blow to a guy who was given the title, it was like a throwaway title, executive vice president.
Friend.
Pal.
Brother of president.
Frequent In-N-Out eater. Esther continues on as a secretary.
Birthday boy.
Esther continues on as the secretary treasurer, as well as being the controlling stake in the shareholder. Richard has a vision for expansion of his father's company. It was his idea to build the executive complex in Baldwin Park, which is still there. He moved the corporate office to Irvine. It was also his idea to add Bible verses to the In-N-Out items such as cups, fry boats, and burger wrappers. Slow down.
Hang on.
Do not
this
jump
on the secret menu?
Do not jump on this. Damn it. I know better. I know to not do that. I should never say that. I should never say freeze.
Clever grill.
God damn it.
They never freeze, Ian. They're patties.
I know better. Don't flub like that. A flux capacitor. Oh no. Back to Richard and his Bible verses. His pastor at the Calvary Chapel explained that hamburgers are so popular. He thought it was a great idea to awaken people to the fact that the Bible is relevant and has answered for today's problems. The soda cups cite John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. The milkshake cups cite Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. And the water cups are stamped with John 14:6. Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And to all this I say, fine.
I don't understand. I mean, who are you trying to, like if you put those, you're just putting the numbers. It's not like you're putting all the words. I'm not going to see the numbers and be like, oh, I'm going to go look that up. Like, if you know what those numbers means, you're already in.
Feel like that's the point, is to make somebody look it up, and then it's the exact thing they need to read that day, and they're like, oh, crap, I got to buy my own Bible now. Because they're at the library. Yeah. I'm not opposed to it. In-N-Out has a lot of things that I'm like a little bit taken aback, and then I'm like, you know what? Second thought, I don't care.
I mean, it's not like it's stamped on the burger.
Yeah, exactly. You can customize it.
You can get it prophet style, and it's stamped with a Bible verse of your choice.
And it's made with holy water. All of this is awful.
Not to my religion.
To go back to saying things that I'm a little bit taken aback by, recently it was found out that In-N-Out was donating money to the Republican Party, and people were like, what's that about? And then like, well, we actually donated money to all the parties, and we're like, clever.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, and that's the thing about In-N-Out. They seem really fair, but when you're there at 2 a.m, they're like, hey, we're trying to close.
How is this fair?
How is this fair?
You gave a hamburger to that Republican over there.
Through the rest of the 70s and 80s, the store continued to expand and change in seemingly small ways, but they were huge to them. They opened their first In-N-Out that has a dining room for customers. That was in Ontario, California. A few years later, they opened the first location that has a drive-thru and a dining room. That was in Placentia.
I always think that place is called Placenta.
I wrote it down. I wrote, don't say placenta.
Don't wake placenta.
I hate that game. In 1984, at a spot where the Schneider's home once stood, Rich Schneider opened up the In-N-Out University, which is where they train entry-level managers to be able to properly manage In-N-Out. And by the way, In-N-Out is known for paying their employees fair wages, not minimum wage. They have a reputation for treating their employees very well. As far as I've heard, I've had a couple cousins who work there. They have no complaints. The company store, also in Baldwin Park, same complex as University, opened up in 1985, and it's the real deal. It's choice. Socks, classic shirts, the best coffee mug I've ever seen in my life. I got my girlfriend the air fresheners that don't smell like, unfortunately, they don't smell like food, but they're shaped like the food. And now she just has,
what do they smell like?
Like cinnamon and like, well, I don't know the other ones. I don't remember. But like they look like the items.
Mayo.
It's like a little cutout of like a burger and the fries, and it just hangs. And every time we see it, we're like, well, I guess we're going to In-N-Out. They have really great merchandise. In 1990, the first In-N-Out opens out of state in Las Vegas, and it's what I like to call the California Embassy. In 1993, Richard Schneider, the president of In-N-Out, dies in a plane crash during a descent into the John Wayne Wayne Airport. And the relationship with his brother Guy was not great. But the day before the crash, Richard attempted to reconcile. Guy had been living up in Northern California. He had a daughter named Lindsay Schneider. He also, unfortunately, had a drug problem still. When Richard died, Guy assumes the position of chairman of the board, and Esther becomes the president. The store continued doing its thing. They opened up a Westwood location, which was the closest that an In-N-Out has come to becoming Googie. It was designed by Stephen Canner. We know the one. That's the one next to the Improv Space. Under his watch, In-N-Out gets 140 new locations. He's also known for creating the Flying Dutchman. That was his invention. Yeah. Sadly, Guy passes away in December of 1999. He has an overdose on painkillers. I know. Esther, who now lost both sons with no warning, was alone running this burger empire with her granddaughter, Lindsay, who was now getting more and more involved in day-to-day operations.
Woman inherits the earth.
Gosh, darn it! Lindsay continued to gain more and more traction in her family's company and soon managing her own locations as time went on. She says that there was 2 attempts at kidnapping her made.
What?
The first was in high school, and the second happened when she was managing a location. She said she spotted a potential attackers due to their boarded up van and ran across the adjacent freeway to escape them. Since then, she's been incredibly private.
Oh.
I mean,
weird.
I would kidnap a daughter of $1 million fortune.
Yeah, that's what I keep with this lotto drawing that's coming up. I keep thinking, like, if I make $1 billion, everyone's going to kidnap my family.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. Yeah. And you won't pay.
No,
I know you.
I only have $1 billion. What, am I made of money? What, I win the lottery?
I read a book on Getty, and he didn't pay.
He got it in your back.
In 2006, things were getting rough. There was a long-time vice president named Richard Boyd, who I didn't hear about until this story. He was suing In-N-Out for breach of contract, torturous interference with contract, and defamation. He claimed Lindsay and her second husband were attempting to wrestle away control from the elderly Esther and had forced employees to attend Bible studies and pray at meetings. The company immediately sued back. It was not looking good. Lindsay had to go out and defend herself like, I love my grandma. None of this stuff is true. Esther died later that year, 2006, the last person who had seen the original In-N-Out of the family. She managed, though, when she died, to keep the family lineage alive through her 24-year-old granddaughter's involvement. She was now 24 years old. Snyder's modest little shack has now expanded to 310 locations, and I believe 4 non-California states, Ohio, Nevada, Arizona, and Texas. In 2010, it became official. Lindsay was the president of $1 billion company. She plans on keeping In-N-Out in the Schneider family, never planning to...
Took her that long? I just bought one lotto ticket.
She wants never plan on franchising or to turn into a chain. She controls all the things. She never wants to take it public. She said this: the only reason we would do that is for money, and I wouldn't do that. My heart is totally connected to this company because of my family and the fact that they are not here. I have a strong tie to keep this the way they would want it. In 2014, they opened up a replica of the original Baldwin Park stand in Baldwin Park. It's like what the shack originally looked like. It's 10 square feet. The original menu with the original prices standing proudly outside the shack. They continue growing and expanding locations and menu items. In January of 2018, this year, a new menu item was added: hot cocoa.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. You better believe that the news treated this like it was a royal birth. Every news station was like, can you believe it? And
did you stay up for the announcement? Weren't they talking about adding like bacon burger or something?
It was
I didn't see that.
On the table at some point. I remember at some point reading that like bacon won't happen, but that was
good.
It was an article from a long time ago. The Schneiders wanted to create something special with their burgers, and they did so much more than that, so much more than a unique fast food experience. They created Southern California lore.
Yeah, it's weird. It is nonstop making fun of people from Los Angeles.
And they're
like, you're going to talk about In-N-Out now? You like In-N-Out better?
I love it so much. When people come out of state and they're like, I have to try it, and they don't like it, I'm like, well, you did it wrong. You didn't do it
This
right.
is on you.
Yeah, this is on me. It's you.
Your taste buds are dead from whatever city you
Whataburger is
came
so
from.
much better. It can't be. They're stupid and ugly.
I mean, we both probably have nothing but good experiences at In-N-Out, but it's a really good hamburger and it's a really good price.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to get that anywhere else.
Yes.
Whataburger here, or water burger, as they say.
Five Guys.
It's like a water bagel.
Yeah.
But yeah, Five Guys exactly. Like a year or so ago, someone announced that Five Guys is the best hamburger place in town.
It's more expensive.
And it just tastes like
good. It's not good. It just tastes. It's good, but it's good in the way that like I'm at a barbecue, my uncle made me a burger,
right,
and it's juicy. Like it's not like anything special. Nobody I know can make a In-N-Out burger.
Yeah,
it's
like. Hey, life hack of Los Angeles. Maybe I should save it.
Maybe you should save it.
I'm going to save it for a future episode.
You're going to ruin that $1 billion corporation. You're going to turn them down to $1 million corporation.
You walk in there, slip on some water. Life hack. Never pay for a meal again. Life hack.
Life hack. You want to go to college? Get hit by a city bus. They'll pay for everything. Join the military.
Don't want to deal with student loans? Yeah. Join the military. Go fight in World War II. That's how you do it.
I actually just wanted to sign up to fight the Nazis. Yeah, you got to go to Orange County for that. Booyah! Booyah! Booyah!
He's hiling. So now we're done with In-N-Out. It's time for a different sort of dinner, second dinner for us. This is actually a similar company to In-N-Out, which is it's good that we're doing it. It's Whataburger. Let's get right into this. I'm going to be talking about another homegrown classic, Panda Express.
Your crazy.
My dinner of the night.
You're never going to get away with it.
Could I get a double order of orange chicken and then instead of rice or noodles, just another double order of orange chicken? No? Then stick them up. This is a history lesson.
That's every order of me in high school. Can I have all the orange chicken you have?
Yeah. All the room in this piece of styrofoam could just be orange chicken,
Yeah.
right? So, of course, this very local of story begins in communist China.
Jesus.
1947, Andrew Chung is born, Jin Chan Chung, outside of Yangzhou, but his family needed to get away from the revolution. So his dad, Ming Tsai, which, by the way, there's a pretty famous chef called Ming Tsai, and they keep referring to him as Ming Tsai, and I was like, is this the guy that I used to watch on KCET who's 40 years younger than his son?
Yes.
Something's
it
up.
is.
That's communist China. His dad moved to Taiwan to get a job as a chef to make money to move his family out of China. But by the time he had earned enough money to send for them to join him in Taiwan, China closed its borders. So he couldn't get him out.
China closes doors.
They put up a hard shell taco. No more. So his mom made the very scary choice of leaving the country without her baby, Andrew, because she was being smuggled out in the bottom of a boat and she was afraid the crying would give her away. But before she left, she hired a smuggler to smuggle her baby out of the country when she was gone. So she left her baby in the hands of a smuggler. This is how Han Solo. This is plot of Solo.
Yeah, this is how Solo starts. We could look back and be like, how could you do that? But like, yeah, I get it.
What else can you do?
Yeah, what else can you do?
It took 3 attempts, but it finally worked.
That baby kept crying. Kept giving us away.
Get back in there. Try again next
again.
week. The family was reunited in Hong Kong, and from there the family moved to Yokohama, Japan, where his dad got another job as a chef, and Andrew eventually grew up to get a scholarship to every Chinese person raised in Japan's dream school, Baker University in Kansas.
I dream of this. We have to go there.
So in the mid-60s, Andrew, he moved away from his family to Kansas, and as a freshman, he met a girl named Peggy Siang, who had her own escape story of her own, being born in Burma and raised in Hong Kong. And it must have been that shared childhood trauma that they could barely remember that drew them together, and they started dating and have been together ever since.
Wow, really?
Yeah. After Kansas, Andrew followed Peggy to the University of Missouri, where she got her PhD in electrical engineering. He got his master's in applied mathematics. A lady doctor. Peggy was more into academics than Andrew was, and on summer breaks, Andrew would go to New York City to wait tables because something in his blood was calling him into the world of restaurants. Insert whatever dated joke about MSG you were planning to spew out of that.
It's not dated.
Mouth. This is fresh stuff.
I wrote this dated material yesterday.
So after he graduated, he left Peggy behind to continue getting her degree. She was still getting her degree. He came out to LA in 1972 to work at a restaurant his cousin owned called Ting Ho. It was in Hollywood. He was apparently also involved with the Plum Tree Inn in Chinatown, which is a restaurant I used to go to a lot as a kid, but not in the 70s, so who cares?
Yeah.
At Ting Ho, he was working 7 days a week, but he didn't really get along with his cousin, and he always wanted to run his own business, so he managed to convince his dad, the chef, and his mom, the mom, to move to LA to help him open up a new restaurant. So they agreed, and he took out a $60,000 loan, and he borrowed also money from the cousin he didn't like. And on June...
You gotta do it. You gotta do it.
I know we don't get along much, but can I have $50,000? So on June 8th, 1973, the Panda Inn opened at 3488 East Foothill Boulevard in Pasadena in an old coffee shop, and he had his whole family working in it for him for free. His dad cooked, his mom...
interns.
This will go to your college credit. You're much younger than me, father. His dad cooked, his mom cleaned and made rice, and Andrew was the face, and he ran the business end of everything. It was called Panda Inn because pandas were a big deal. It meant bell. They were a big deal in 1972 when Nixon visited China. He broke through the hard shell, and they were seen as a symbol of union between China and the United States. So it was Pandamania.
Yeah.
Pandamania. However, at the time, most Chinese restaurants in the U.S. were just serving chop suey and other System of a Down song titles. But what Panda Inn was doing were dishes like we now know Chinese places to serve, which at the time were a deeper dive into Chinese cuisine than most people were willing to take. So business wasn't good at first. But his mom enacted an old Chinese tradition and put a bunch of salt on the sidewalk, and miraculously, a couple people came.
That's pretty cool.
But the food
was
was
birds.
But the food was good, and since there were so few customers, Andrew made a point to treat each one who did come like royalty because he was afraid they'd never come back. Sure. So one customer at a time was how he was going to grow his business. His dad always taught him, don't take on a new challenge until you've mastered the previous one, and this was just an extension of that. Be really good at serving each person. So one small step at a time. Slowly, word got out, and more people started coming. If all the tables were full and he saw people leave because they didn't want to wait, he'd run after them in the parking lot and offer them a free drink until a table was ready for them.
Okay.
So now the business was going well, but Andrew was still missing his sweet Peggy. Once she finally finished school school. She also moved to LA where she got a job at McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's
competitor.
Aircraft. Yeah.
McDonald's Hamburger and Aircraft Division. McDonnell Douglas, and later at 3M. She was designing computer systems to launch missiles. And in 1975, they got married and had a kid.
Different kind of missile.
But she was, he figured out how to launch a missile, if you know what I mean. But in 1981, Andrew's dad died, but the business had to go on. And the next year, they opened up a second Panda Inn location in Glendale that's now closed. But around this time, they also had a second baby. She's still open. And Peggy decided to quit her job designing missile programs and come do the accounting at Panda Inn with her husband because it gave her more of a flexible schedule to be with the babies. And also, business was going pretty good. So,
you could leave a job designing
exactly.
missiles.
But then they were offered something that would change everything. No. It wasn't a free sample of sesame shrimp. A customer of theirs named Pat Donahue was a big fan. He also had a very LA family with one brother, the head coach of the UCLA Bruins, and another brother was the developer of the Glendale Galleria.
Really?
Now, Pat knew that his brother was looking for more restaurants to put in the food court at the Galleria, so he approached Andrew and asked if he might be interested in putting a faster, casual version of Panda Inn inside their mall. And it took some rethinking of their business model, but Andrew felt he had mastered the sit-down restaurant, so now he wanted to give fast food a try. So in October 1983, the first Panda Express opened in the food court of the Glendale Galleria.
I now get why it's called Express.
Exactly. So it was pretty popular, and 2 years later, they opened up their second location in another mall at the West Side Pavilion. So now Andrew started getting an idea, much like what Taco Bell did for tacos, what McDonald's did for hamburgers. Why can't he do for Chinese food what Taco Bell did for tacos, what McDonald's did for hamburgers? Yeah. He wanted to make Panda Express the McDonald's of the East, but on the West. This was actually perfect timing because leading into the 90s, Mexican fast food was starting to lose its exotic appeal.
Yeah.
Because are you breaking your fingers? What is that?
You're making me hungry, so I'm breaking my hands to calm myself down.
To prevent myself from chewing on them. So Mexican food, we've had that.
Yeah.
They wanted something newer and exoticer, and Chinese food, just the thing. So they started opening up more locations, all of them in malls, because that's where people were looking for fast food the most.
Yeah.
They were doing well, but they had a secret weapon, Peggy.
She shot missiles at them.
Any competitor?
Suddenly they blew up. I don't know how.
Mysteriously, a missile hit them. She knew computer programming very well, so she took Andrew's vision of a worldwide Chinese fast food empire and built software for their restaurants to use around that. So they became one of the first fast food places to be using computers to take orders in the 80s. And not just that, she set the computers up to track what was being ordered and what was popular and what wasn't, and to automatically pre-order any ingredients that they were running low on. So this kept...
That's insane.
I know. This kept them well-stocked at all times, and it gave them unprecedented insight into what people liked, what people didn't like, and what they should take off the menu. So this gave them an edge that they needed over all of their competitors, of which there weren't really that many, because making Chinese food is a lot harder than making a hamburger or a preformed taco. And doing that in a fast food capacity is even harder. But they were so efficient with their computer data, and they were so unique that it worked and nobody could touch them. Chinese food is also more expensive to make, so to keep the costs down, instead of treating their employees unfairly and paying them less, they would just cross-train them all to know how to do everything in the restaurant and get the most out of fewer employees.
Okay, that's almost a perfect model.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I'm a perfect model. Look, my abs. Then they had yet another stroke of genius. In 1987, nuggets were all the rage.
Remember the Nugget Mania? All that footage of screaming teenagers?
Yeah. When the Nuggets peeked their head out of the Plaza Hotel. When the Nuggets performed at Shea Stadium, I couldn't hear anything.
Ed Sullivan was eating nuggets live on television.
And now, straight from a chicken coop that I once saw on the freeway, Nugget Mania, this drove up the price of white meat chicken. So a Taiwanese French-trained chef at one of their locations in Hawaii named Andy Cow decided to start buying dark meat to save money because it was cheaper than everyone's getting the white meat. Let's go the other route. With the dark meat, he modified some Chinese recipes of orange-flavored chicken and made it a little sweeter, battered it, fried it as a variation on General Tso's chicken to appeal more to American and Hawaiian tastes.
Yeah.
The original version had a bone in it, but once they got rid of that, the orange chicken was born and it became their most popular item, and they now sell over 90 million pounds of it a year.
All bought by me.
So armed with smart computers and sweet chicken, they were off to the races. All races, that is, because they were a runaway hit. By 1992, they had 97 locations. That same year, they started to fear that someone might come along and have a Japanese version of what they do. So to prevent that from happening, they started their own Japanese version of themselves in Bloomington, Minnesota, called Hibachi-san, which has a few locations around the country, but I've never heard of it. So I guess the Japanese threat wasn't as credible as they thought. Lucy. In 1993, they celebrated their 10th anniversary with a location on the UCLA campus campus near that In-N-Out, which brings us to a new phase in their plan, which was getting away from being only in malls because they could see that the golden age of malls was already over and they didn't want to be another sad fast food place next to Cinnabon, so they started branching out.
I'm sure her computer software told her to leave.
Sabaro's getting close. Must evacuate. Launch missile.
No.
Universities like UCLA was one path. 1993 was also the year of their first freestanding location in LA's fast food test ground, Barstow, California. It was tougher getting people to come to the freestanding locations because you no longer had the captive audience of a mall, but they made it work because they stuck to their plan that they had from the very beginning up until 2000, that whenever a new location would open, they had to have a crew from experienced locations come and live together for a month in an apartment near the new one to make sure everything went smoothly and to build this team mentality, which sounds miserable.
If you don't get along with somebody, it does.
So they also became the first fast food to open up inside of a supermarket when the president of Vons, who was a fan of theirs, let them open up inside the Vons in Arcadia. They opened up their first two airport locations, both at the Denver airport in 1995. Then they opened their first library location at Central Library downtown here in 1996. And then their first sports arena location at Angel Stadium in 1998. 2001 was their first theme park location at Six Flags Valencia. So they kind of morphed from sit-down, upper-scale restaurant to mall food court to casual order at a counter sort of place. So they kept changing what they were. Only 2% of their locations are actually in malls today still. And they're huge, obviously. 2007 was their 1,000th location back where it all started in Pasadena. 2011 was their first international location in Mexico City. Take that, Taco Bell. They now have over 1,800 locations in the US, Canada, Mexico, Japan, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Guatemala, and Aruba, making them the biggest Chinese fast food chain in the United States. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say the world. The busiest location of them all is at the Ala Moana Center food court in Hawaii. They never use MSG. Some of the recipes are still from Andrew's dad, and they're one of the biggest broccoli buyers in the United States.
Hell yeah.
Last year, they bought 21 million pounds of it, creating the biggest stink cloud this country's ever seen. They test out new recipes at the Innovation Kitchen in Pasadena that opened in 2014, which is open to the public at 3867 East Foothill Boulevard, right near the original Panda Inn. So they try out weird flavors and things like that, which I want to go to. In 2016, they came out with the Chork, a chopstick fork. But the two people still behind this all are Andrew and Peggy. They were put in the California Restaurant Association Hall of Fame in 2005, and today they're worth over $3 billion. That's like 3 lotto tickets for me. That makes Peggy the 11th richest self-made woman in the United States.
Good for you, Peggy.
They have identical offices on opposite ends of their headquarters in Rosemead for feng shui purposes. They've managed to get that rich because they own all of the Panda Expresses out there. There's no franchising allowed. This allows them to maintain quality control and consistency throughout all the locations. They could go public, just like In-N-Out. So much more money they would have, but that would mean a loss of control, and they don't see the need to make more money than they already have, which leads me to the next thing. They're both just really good people, it seems. Their main focus is on having happy employees because they believe that will lead to happy customers. Also, more so than caring about the food, they seem to care more about that their employees are well taken care of. Like everything they're talking about seems like you care more about people than food. Andrew says that the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So if he can get them taking care of themselves, they'll take care of others as well. He pushes all of his employees to try to better themselves in a very self-help but genuine kind of way. The company offers a lot of motivational and life improvement seminars for all their employees, exercise classes. All employees are required to be part of the Panda Way program. It encourages learning and being healthy and teaching you how to have better personal relationships with people. Applicants for their job have to read The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People before they're interviewed. Andrew says when you have a good set of people and they're in a good place inside and out, in their livelihood and who they are, then chances are they will take care of the customer better. Peggy, meanwhile, started the Panda Cares Foundation in 1999, which has given over $83 million to children's hospitals and disaster relief. They adopted a panda named Pei in Chengdu.
That's the ideal way to treat everybody. Or at least treat your employees, and then with the idea that it's going to spread further.
Like a poison.
Like a poison.
The poison of kindness.
They bought a panda?
Yeah, we bought a panda. Andrew's teaching does trickle down to Peggy's philanthropy because all employees have the option to donate a part of their paychecks to charity, and 90% of them do.
Wow.
Of all employees. And they feel comfortable doing that because the employees are actually treated well, which is shocking, as we know, for a fast food place this big. Their pay is higher than minimum wage. They get vacation and sick time. If you work there over 30 hours for more than 6 months, they'll pay 80% of your health insurance premiums and 50% for your dependents. If you've been there over 6 months, they'll also help pay for part of your college college tuition, but a lot of people actually just stick with the company because 70% of the management positions go to people already in the company, although a few years back they hired a former Taco Bell executive as president. There's lots of stories of people who started out as dishwashers who didn't speak any English and they're now regional directors and things like that. But I've eaten a lot of orange chicken in my day and I still don't have a PhD, so...
You almost got me to be like, should I do a part-time job at Panda
I was
Express?
thinking the same thing. Like, I wonder if I go back to school, also.
Yeah, I could work at Panda Express at the campus.
I used to love Panda Express, and then I had it like 5 years ago, and it wasn't very good. And then I had it again tonight just to see. It was pretty good.
It smelled good. I mean, you sold it because you kept going, oh my
I kept saying, oh yeah, thank you, Pepe.
It was never like a staple of any situation. Like if we were around when we'd go to it.
I ate it a lot because, like I said, I haven't been there in a while. But when I went there tonight, like my instincts kicked in of like, I want to order this, this way, this and this and this. Like I knew what to do.
Yeah, I should get more. You're selling it to me.
Yeah, you should eat more fast food.
I mean, I do a lot already, but that's a get out of your car place.
But hey, here's something you don't have to get out of your car to do. Leave us a review on iTunes. It's that time of the show.
Best review you ever left anyone.
Yeah.
Leave it to us.
Leave us some stars, some words. If you have an iPhone, just open the podcast app and do that. It helps people find us more. It makes us more visible, gives us more social cachet on the internet. Do that. It really helps out a lot.
And we also would just appreciate it if you did that. On top of everything else, it'd just be a nice thing for us.
Yeah,
so
it would be
thank
nice.
you.
We give you so much. Give us a granddaughter.
Read a whole book on In-N-Out. And you're going to say you can't leave me a review? That's fine.
Don't do it for Greg, do it for me. So then also follow us on Twitter at LA Meekly, on Instagram, LA_Meekly. Like us on Facebook.
We have a Tumblr page, lameekly.tumblr.com.
It's got the archive there.
Main hub of the
We
thing.
have a YouTube channel. You can watch everything. We have live videos. All of our live shows are on there now.
Videos. Email us at la.meekly@gmail.com.
If you have any suggestions, comments,
Field trip ideas.
If you work at an interesting place in the city or know someone who does, email us. We can come down and interview you for an episode. Support us on Patreon. We have some nice things going on there.
Sending
some more
postcards
stuff coming
out this week.
More stuff will be coming soon. Closing thoughts on this hungriest of episodes, Greg?
I'm still hungry. It's so strange to me that so many places culturally different with culturally diverse food open to Pasadena.
Yeah, it's weird. Everyone kind of like tested the waters out in Pasadena for some reason. It's almost as like someone opened some sort of portal to hell there. So yeah, we hope you have a nice Thanksgiving. If you really don't want to do it, you can go to one of these places. Have a nice Thanksgiving. Have a nice holiday. We'll see you in December for our scary episode.
Get ready for Creepy Christmas. It's coming.
Yeah, the first one in a couple of years where it's in studio.
In studio.
And this is a studio, believe me.
Yeah. Richie, will you turn that down? The bass is too high.
All right, you can clean. We're leaving. We're leaving right now. So that's been yet another episode of LA Meekly. Why the chicken crossed the road? Because she's been a doctor since 2013.
Not sexist jazz.
Makes sense earlier on.